What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on another Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 89 for your April 1st, 2025. I'm your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by someone who is not the April Fool, the one and only, the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
Never the April Fool.
No, never the April Fool.
You know what I'm happy about? I'm happy about the fact that the Mets at least are at 500. What's going on with the Braves?
Wait a minute, bro. The baseball season started already? What?
Believe it or not, yeah. And 0 for 5. That's tough. That's a tough start.
Really, man. I didn't know. I didn't know the baseball season started. According to my estimation, I'm still waiting for the season to start.
I hate to break the bad news to you, but I hate to get off on the wrong foot. But yeah, I mean it's pretty unbelievable.
I don't know what the fuck's going on over there, man. Brian Snicker and the front office need to be fired. I don't know what to tell you.
It's pretty brutal, though. I gotta say,
it's fucking embarrassing. How's your guy doing? The almost $800 million guy. How's he doing?
Well, I mean, he's not earning the $800 million yet, but he's doing okay. He's all right. You know, I think he's warming up.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you feel about the Yankees and these fucking torpedo bats? You see this shit?
Yeah. I'd rather not talk about the Yankees. It's not really something.
Where did this come out of? Is this a new thing this year, the torpedo bats?
Yeah, apparently. I think I was watching the Mets game before, and I think Lindor had one of those bats because they were talking about it on commentary, and it's just. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. I mean, is this like a new phenomenon?
I don't know. I mean, I have so many questions. I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, is the bat heavier because it's top heavy? Is it something that's a little bit longer to swing because it's top heavy? Like, is it easier to hit the ball? Like, I don't know. I got so many questions.
I would imagine so. I mean, if they made the change, it would make it a little bit easier. I think it's just the positioning of the wood, or they move the wood maybe a little higher up. I don't know. It's just. First, I'm hearing about this. Apparently, it's all legal, though.
Yeah, apparently it's all legal. I think it should be illegal, but the Dodgers are just now going to incorporate. I heard because I was watching the Braves game last night. They're going to incorporate these torpedo bats into their lineup, and now everybody's going to follow suit. So I don't know.
Of course, it's going to become the norm.
Yeah, the norm on Tuesday is us right here talking pro wrestling, and we got a lot to get into tonight. We got a pay-per-view on Sunday, Dynasty. AEW presents Dynasty from Philadelphia. We'll go over your preview and predictions, as always, before the pay-per-views. We had a lot happen in WWE. Jason, it finally feels like WrestleMania season. Monday Night Raw was I would say, the best of the international shows on Monday night. And I thought Monday Night Raw was a great show last night. They really forwarded a lot of important key things going into WrestleMania. So we'll definitely talk about that. What was your quick takeaway from Monday? How'd you feel about the show?
Oh, I thought it was the best of the international shows that they've had so far. And it was funny. It was only 4 matches on the show. So I can't say that it was a show carried by the in-ring action. But it was a show carried by 2 very important non-wrestling segments. And there were 2 things that they had to do, in my view, coming into that show. And I think they knocked it out of the park in both cases. Yeah,
I agree. Gunther, Jey Uso, Jimmy left in a bloodbath like we both talked about last week and both talked about on our individual channels. That was perfect. Then we got the situation with the ladies. That's played out into what is not yet announced as a triple threat, but it's certainly heading that way. We'll definitely talk CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. What I thought was the weekend, or the moment of the weekend, really, between both shows. We'll definitely talk about that and where that is going. I know we have a little bit of a different take on what this possible favor could be for CM Punk. How I know a lot of people are saying, well, maybe he gets added, Punk, to the triple threat, making it a triple threat match to the WWE Championship match. I don't know. We'll definitely discuss how that's even possible, if it is possible at all. And we'll get into some other news and notes here. We got some Hulk Hogan news. We got some Karrion Kross free agency news. We got some Hall of Fame news. WWE's now announcing and inducting matches into the Hall of Fame. We'll definitely talk about that. Man, they choose a fucking banger to kick us off with that announcement, huh?
I said it on my show. They chose what, in my opinion, is the greatest match in WWE history.
I would not even argue that you said that.
Flat out. Flat out the greatest, because I thought about it, because at first I said, oh, that's one of the greatest matches, on Friday when they first announced it. Then I was thinking about it some more, and I said, you know what? I don't think it's such a hot take to say it, but I really do. I would say that they are inducting the greatest match in WWE history.
That very well may be the case. I have no complaints about that. And I think that's all we got lined up for you guys. So sit back, enjoy a beverage, go grab a couple. It's going to be a decent show tonight, and we thank you guys for being here. First of all, I have to thank our guy because he is a member of both the OTS family and the Soundoff family. David Thiering started us off tonight. This guy walks into the bar. He drops 100. He buys the entire chat around the drinks. David Thiering with a $100 super chat. He says the only real way that you can start off the month of April here on TNT with two of the best in the IWCs with a bomb. No April Fool's joke, or in AEW's case, a suspicious looking ratings report on Max needed. LOL. Have a great show tonight, fellas. David, thank you so very much. Jason and I very much appreciate all of your support and the fact that you are over here on Tuesdays, over on my side on Monday, and Jason's side on Monday, and every other day of the week. So we appreciate you, brother. Thank you so very much, man.
Yeah, David's awesome.
Yeah. All right, man. You guys know the deal. Everything you need for both of us is linked down below in the description. YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. Go find us where we are available. I'll leave that up to you guys, and I'm going to leave it up to the Solid Monster here. Jason, where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Let's go back to Friday. Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the contract signing for the triple threat match, because now we know what the main event is going to be on WrestleMania Saturday. All this discourse about, does it deserve to be the main event? Yes, it does. And there's a reason why it's going to be the main event on night one. I have been waiting to see if maybe we are going to get the reveal in advance of WrestleMania about the Heyman favor. And I love what they did, because they made you think that you got it. And then at the very end of the show, even after the copyright came on, they said, psych. And then we found out that wasn't the favor, and that's how they went off the air. I think as far as a cliffhanger, it was awesome, the way they did that.
That was indeed excellent. I love the fact that they even threw the trademark logo up like 3 minutes before the show ended. I got some old NXT TakeOver, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano vibes with that one. Triple H is known to do that. That's his signature. But as far as the way that they ended off, I loved it. I'm very much looking forward to everything these three have going on into next Friday's show. And the emotion, Jason, behind Paul Heyman getting down on one knee and looking at CM Punk as he signed the contract, telling him, it's in there. It's in there. You are going to be a WrestleMania main eventer, and he's going to be main eventing night one. Now, I would be lying to you if I said to everybody here tonight that I didn't get emotional. I got a little salty substance in my eyes, just because I'm a big Heyman guy. I know how much he is a part of CM Punk's career. I'm a big CM Punk guy. That's no secret. I know how much he's wanted this and how hard he's worked to get here, especially through the injury, working all last year, having match of the year, feud of the year with McIntyre, coming back and hopefully remaining healthy for the duration of his WWE run. I got a little bit of emotional with that. I don't know how you felt about that. What'd you think? What'd you feel coming out of that moment, seeing Heyman on one knee say that to CM Punk?
I think you're going soft. That's what I think.
All right, well, listen.
Look, it was well done. It was well done. We've had a lot of crying on these shows lately. I feel like there's a lot of people who are acting, right? We saw it with Bianca and Naomi. Naomi on that same show on Friday with the tears coming down her cheeks.
That was great.
I thought that was great too. So no, I mean, I didn't get emotional over it. I just thought it was very well done. And if you are aware of the history between Heyman and Punk, that was just one of those kind of special moments, because they go back. Look, even before the time that Heyman was managing him, I mean, you can take it back to the beginning of Punk's career there. Heyman was an advocate for him even then. So you can believe that, to the two of them, that probably meant something. But I just thought the way they did it. And then in the background, Roman is sitting there and he's laughing, he's smiling. And then off to the side is Seth, and he's seething and he's angry. So you had a little bit of everything in terms of emotion, all happening at the same time. And Seth blaming Roman, this is your fault, you made this happen. And I've never seen somebody so angry to find out that he's going to be in the WrestleMania main event. But that was Seth Rollins, who last year, that was his first right? Because he doesn't really count the Money in the Bank cash in. So this will be his second. For Punk, this will be his first. And then for Roman, it's his 10th. And nobody else has had 10 WrestleMania, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. So many of those early ones were just something I really have no interest in going back to see. Although his very first one, I thought that was an excellent match. The one at 31 with Brock.
Oh, that was a great match.
Yeah, that was a great match. 32, 33, 34. I mean, it's just,
oh my God, 34. Holy shit.
And I was at all of those, dude. I was there. I can tell you that in person, it was even worse than however it came across to you on TV. So this will be his 10th. And I know there are some people who are upset. You know, of course, Roman has to get his 10th main event. What about the women? It should have gone to the women this year. But again, as great as that match is going to be, there's so much history and story to this match. And you have three of the biggest stars in your company, which is not to say Rhea Ripley and, you know, Bianca aren't big stars. But this right here is your main event. And as far as people who don't think night one is a main event, I've always said the way I look at it is on that particular night, this is the match that's closing the show. You're going to have people who are going to be in the building that night who aren't necessarily going to be in the crowd for night two, especially at the prices they're charging for those tickets in Vegas. I think probably this year more than any other since they went to the 2-night format, you will have people who go to one night and not the other.
Yes.
Because I feel like in the past, maybe not everybody, but like a lot of people would go to both. At the prices they're charging, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, all right, we got to make a decision here. We go here, we go here. It's a main event. If you don't think it's a main event, that's fine. But it is a main event of WrestleMania. And so now the question, of course, turns to the whole idea of the favor, because you would assume, based on Heyman being the one to say it's in there, like, we negotiated it. Don't worry about it. I know this is what you wanted. And they make you think that, okay, that must be the favor. And then at the very end, and you know, Roman wants to be thanked, and Punk is like, oh, thank you, my tribal chief. But he just lays that at the very end, lays it on us that that's not the favor I'm owed. And now it creates this whole conversation about, well, if that's not the favor, then what is? What for as long as they've dragged this out, what could it possibly be that would live up to expectations once we find out what the favor is? Because I feel like we're beyond the point that just finding out he wants Heyman to be his wise man for that match would be enough. I really don't think that's enough at this point, the way they've built this up.
No, I have said that. I feel like that's just me being safe, because I've wrapped my head around this. I know you have as well. And everybody seems to think, well, maybe there's going to be a championship match on the line in this triple threat on night one. The winner of this gets to challenge whatever championship they want. If it's Roman, he goes after Cody or Cena. And if it's Punk Rollins, they go after Gunther or Jey Uso, being that they're both Monday Night Raw superstars. Is that even enough? Because I know you talked about that on your own. You talked about that last week. Is that enough, number one? And number two, if it is, one of these guys, whoever wins this match, gets added to the John Cena Cody Rhodes match on night two, how does that even make sense? Or if, in this case, Punk. If Punk wins, and that's the favor, he gets added to John Cena and Cody Rhodes. I think we both have talked about this. How does Paul Heyman have that amount of power to even make that decision? Additionally, if Punk wants something like that to happen, why would The Rock okay that? I don't really understand. Maybe Triple H goes above The Rock. I don't know how they weave that and work that into the storyline, but it doesn't really make sense right now.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Especially after the comments that Punk made about Rock.
Yes.
You know, coming out of the Elimination Chamber. I could see Heyman having some influence. I don't see him having that much influence. I've said for the last few weeks, what would make the most sense when you consider the star power and who's involved in this match, it's not really a heavy lift, the idea that this would be a number one contenders match. Or, you know, the winner gets a championship match against the title that is represented by whatever brand they're attached to. That to me would make sense. Is that enough? It might not be for some people, but from a logic standpoint, if CM Punk wanted two things in this return, one is to headline WrestleMania, the other thing is to win a world championship, this would satisfy both of those things. So in the eyes of some people, maybe it's not enough, but to me, it would be the most sensible thing. The idea of him being added to the night two main event is a couple of things to that. If they can find a way, and I don't know what that would be, if they could find a way to make it make sense, I wouldn't even have the reveal of what the favor is until the end of the main event on night one. I wouldn't even tell people. I would have Punk win. And then at the very end of night one, you have Punk make the announcement, oh, by the way, tell us what the favor is, and that he's been added to the main event of night two. But again, how do you explain that? I just don't see there being a logical way to explain it. If they can do it, that's the way I would do it. But I think you set it up in a way where the winner gets a championship match at some point. You don't even have to say when. You don't have to say Backlash. You don't have to put a date on it. Beyond that, I don't know what else it would be. There's some people who think there may be a big swerve here. And if Rollins wins, Heyman goes with Rollins. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, it would be a shocking ending. Does Seth Rollins need Paul Heyman? I mean, I guess Punk doesn't need him either, but I don't know. How do you feel about Rollins leaving as a heel with Heyman as his manager?
I don't like that at all. I think, that's the same way as people coming up with, well, if Heyman is Punk's wise man, I don't know if it would be for Mania or it's going to be a long-term thing. Does that make CM Punk a heel? Like I wouldn't really test the waters with that. I wouldn't really kind of risk that and make Punk into a heel or have I don't know if the fans would even react in a heelish way to that. I think they would actually embrace that. Yeah. I don't want to even take a chance on that. Rollins creates a specific idea now that you mention it. Rollins' hatred for Punk is so deep that he said basically at the Elimination Chamber that he would kill him. Like, over his dead body, you're not main eventing WrestleMania.
Yeah, but at the end of the chamber, he was saying die.
Yes.
As he was locked in the STF.
He would do anything he can to stop Punk from main eventing WrestleMania. And I feel like if there is a swerve here, I know we talked about it for a couple of weeks now here. We mentioned it just last week. I asked you specifically, what do you think of a third man? Everybody's got this notion of a third man. I would not mind that Rollins' hatred runs so deep and he's running out of options that he actually becomes the third man and stands alongside Rock and John Cena. That would be an ultimate swerve. Paul Heyman joining Seth Rollins, I don't think that's enough to close night one. Something like that. It's got to be catastrophic. It's got to be fucking monumental. I think that could do it.
There is no Rock and John Cena. We haven't seen The Rock.
I know.
We haven't seen The Rock since the Elimination Chamber.
Are you going to gable me here, man? Come on. I'm just coming up with something. I don't know.
People were talking about this third man stuff, even like the night of the Elimination Chamber, because they saw Travis Scott in the ring. They're like, oh, maybe this will be a faction, And it's like, I didn't buy into the whole idea that there would be a third man then. It seems even less likely now. We haven't. Monday was the last time last night that we even heard The Rock's name mentioned, and it was very brief. It was a very brief mention. Yeah. And so now they're going to be back on American soil. Is that part of it? Are they waiting until they get back to the States? John Cena may not be on the show the next couple of weeks. Maybe The Rock shows up and he kind of takes his spot since Cena may not be there. I mean, there's a lot of questions about that. The other reason I'm not enamored with the idea, if they were to add the winner of this match to the night 2 main event, Punk and Cena deserves its own singles match. It's just like the build to that match is just so natural and natural with Cena as the heel and Punk as the babyface. Because that promo that he cut on Cena after the Elimination Chamber, like, how do you not set that up as its own standalone match? There's just so much history there. There's so much potential for, you talk about back and forth, like what we got last night. Imagine the back and forth between Cena and Punk.
Oh, that's what I'm waiting for.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as great as that segment was last night, imagine what we'll get with those two. So I almost would rather they not do it and just hold off on doing it for a few months, whether it's Money in the Bank, whether it's SummerSlam, and not just throw, Punk into the match without any sort of build up and preparation for it. So I actually hope it doesn't happen, but I don't think it's going to happen because I just don't see there being a logical path to get there. And it would feel like, okay, they have their own story and now we're just throwing somebody else in there. I'm not really a fan of that idea. So I just go back to the idea of making it a number 1 contenders match. So that way there's something on the line. There's something at stake, and it gives all 3 men who already don't like each other, but it really gives all 3 of them even more incentive to want to come out the winner because there's something there for them to grab. Like Vince McMahon used to talk about the brass ring. Like that's the brass ring for them to grab.
Is that going to be enough for fans, being that Io, Rhea, and Bianca are not main eventing? And that's for a world championship. There's no championship per se on the line here for Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. Is that going to be enough to quiet those people? And I know you discussed something on your show on Sunday, slight change to the Royal Rumble. If you want, you could tell everybody here tonight what that change is. I actually agree with you. Though I know WWE has done this several times over the past several years, and per se, if you win the Royal Rumble, that doesn't necessarily mean you're granted a WrestleMania main event. I mean, I have a whole slew of people here that won the Royal Rumble and didn't main event or close the show for WrestleMania. What would that change be, Jason? How would you alleviate that and change that?
Well, I mean, the change is very simple because this is the first time that we have neither winner of the Royal Rumble, male or female, during this two-night WrestleMania format, neither of them going to the actual main event of WrestleMania. It's the first time that's ever happened. And people are complaining about it because, well, you know, you're going to have a Royal Rumble and say that the winner goes to the main event of WrestleMania, and then they don't. Because let's be honest, I mean, the opening match is not the main event. You know, the penultimate match of the night, if it's not closing the show, it's not the main event. Very simple fix to this, and I think it's time to make this change, which is you no longer say the winner of the Royal Rumble goes to the main event of WrestleMania. It actually made more sense to do that when WrestleMania was one night.
Yeah.
And you had one Royal Rumble. Now we have two Royal Rumbles. We have two nights of WrestleMania. And clearly, the winner of the Royal Rumble will not always go to the main event of WrestleMania. Cut that part out. We don't need that anymore. It's enough to say that if you win the Royal Rumble, it's enough of an incentive to say that you will get to choose the champion of your choosing to go after in a championship match at the biggest event of the year, and just leave it at that. So this whole nonsense about you go to the main event, it's a passé idea. It doesn't really apply. It's not even accurate anymore. I would cut that part out entirely.
I agree. I think that's a great move. I said this on Monday with all the discourse. You know, people are arguing that this match should main event, that match should main event. WWE loves using a lot of hype around everything that they do. WrestleMania is the main event in their eyes, so they don't really kind of look at Jason's point of view and say, yeah, you know, someone like that saying that is right. Everything's the main event. If you're on WrestleMania, you are the main event. No, you're not. You got to simplify it and really just make everything feel a little bit more logical. So I do agree with that, and I hope that they do make that change because it is ridiculous. And we'll talk about why Gunther's not in the main event, how that could possibly add a little bit more fuel to the fire of his feud with Jey Uso. So I do agree there. The other thing that happened on Friday, Jason, was Randy Orton. He called a shot against Cody Rhodes, who right now is still the WWE champion. We'll see what happens in Vegas. But he is calling for number 15. And he is going to basically tell Cody that if you get through Cena, I'm coming after this championship. And Backlash is in St. Louis. Now, we don't really know if John Cena or Cody Rhodes, what the winner is going to be there. I'm hoping for a Cena win. I'm kind of thinking that WWE is going to have Cody retain, but my heart says Cena. I would much rather see Randy Orton and John Cena for the WWE Championship. I don't know how Cody factors into Backlash or what he's doing at Backlash. What'd you make of this opening segment? Because there was a lot of foreshadowing there. And honestly, between all of us here tonight and you, I would be more interested in a Cody Orton feud just based off the history that they have instead of a Cody and Cena feud at WrestleMania, if that was the match.
I like the opening segment on Friday because it set up multiple directions coming out of WrestleMania, including Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about that. Randy Orton's been eyeballing the title going back to last year. It's subtle, but there have been multiple times now where he's been with Cody in the back or in the ring, and you see him. He's looking at the WWE title. So, and that was intentional, and they've been doing that for a while now. There's a lot of history with him and Cody. I would love to see that match. I'm sure we're going to get it at some point. But they're in St. Louis for Backlash. And I just think heel Cena defending the championship against babyface Randy Orton in his hometown, it's just so good. It's too good to pass up. Like, I'm really pulling for that to be the match on that show. I mean, like, I think Cena and Orton are going to work together at some point once, at least this year. They have to, you know, before Cena calls it quits. But that night in that city, it just feels right. So I'm hoping we get the match there. I don't know, like you said, I don't know what Cody would do on that show, if he would even be on the show. But I'm hoping we do Cena and Orton in St. Louis. because there's always going to be time, to do Cody and Orton. It doesn't have to be a Backlash. But it's such a great setting to make that match happen. If that is the last Randy Orton, John Cena match, it was always babyface Cena against heel Orton, or maybe they were both baby faces. This flips the entire dynamic. That's part of what also appeals to me. I just think it would be very interesting to see what that match would look like with the roles reversed. And that crowd, I'm sure, would just be bonkers in St. Louis.
That's what intrigues me most about a Cena Punk match this year. The roles will be reversed.
Yep. Now imagine doing that in Chicago.
I know.
That's why I was hoping Money in the Bank would be in Chicago. But our friend Andrew says it's going to be in Los Angeles, so it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yes, at the Intuit Dome. Yeah, they're going big. I mean, they're $4,000 per ticket there. It's great.
Probably, yeah.
Orton, if he does wrestle for the WWE Championship against Cody at some point, he's undoubtedly got to be a heel going into that, correct? A heel turn's coming? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I would prefer him to wrestle Cody as a heel. I'm like, we still may get there.
Well, look, I mean, the first match, maybe the first match is babyface against babyface, and he fails and then goes heel. I don't see it being a one and done.
No.
So maybe it starts out that way, but then the Viper comes out, and then we see heel Randy Orton. That's how I would do it. I mean, that would be like a 3-match program.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that when and if that happens for sure. But that was the other big thing that happened on Friday. Another championship match could be looming at WrestleMania, and that is for the United States Championship. LA Knight is the United States champion. He wrestled Braun Strowman on Friday. Not the most interesting of matches per se, in my honest opinion. But we did get another appearance from Jacob Fatu, who wants the United States Championship. And it was a situation where Fatu got some revenge on Braun Strowman after the match. He nailed a Samoan drop on Strowman, and then hip attack, and then the mighty moonsault. He even laid out LA Knight as well. And it was not really announced on Friday, Jason, but I think it has been announced since then. Fatu made a mention of it being last man standing between him and Strowman, and that he will be the last man standing. So I think that come Friday, we're getting a last man standing match between Strowman and Fatu, and I believe the winner of that will hopefully become the number one contender for the United States Championship. How are you feeling about Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight one-on-one? Because I know we were talking about potentially a fatal four-way here between Fatu, Knight, Strowman, and who was the other one? I don't even remember. Solo?
Well, I was talking triple threat, not even having Solo in the match. I prefer it be one-on-one. Now, they have announced it'll be last man standing on Friday, so I mean that's official. They didn't say that the winner would go on to challenge LA Knight, but I mean, given that they've been involved with him, it's reasonable to assume that. I'm hoping we get it's last man standing. How do we not, get a decisive winner? We get a decisive winner. Hopefully, Fatu wins, and we get Fatu and LA Knight. And I think, again, I don't think we're gonna get a title change, but I do think that the bloodline getting involved backfires. It costs Fatu the match. I think Solo and Fatu, not the WrestleMania match, but the Backlash match. So that's how I see it playing out. You could do it one-on-one. It doesn't have to be a triple threat. It doesn't have to be a fatal four-way. But whatever Solo and Tama Tonga try to do, assuming it's an accident, it backfires, and that's how we get to the break point between Jacob and Solo.
I agree. I like that. I don't think beating Fatu at WrestleMania is going to do a damn thing to him. I think he could absolutely suffer a loss and be just fine. And Backlash, the setting, the name of the show, just fits it perfectly. Solo versus Jacob Fatu. They implode. Someone in my chat on Friday passed this along to me as a potential, because I know last week we talked about Jeff Cobb being on the internal roster for WWE. There's interest there to bring him in. We haven't really heard anything since, but if we are just kind of thinking in theory that if Cobb is coming in and he may potentially be with the WWE, do you see Jacob Fatu running his own little faction, or is he going to fly solo and just get the rocket pack strapped to him and they're just going to do him just on his own? Or is he going to align himself with a couple other people, a couple other Samoans here? We have Jeff Cobb potentially, and someone said Bronson Reed. Imagine a group of Fatu, Bronson Reed, and Jeff Cobb on Friday Night SmackDown. I know it's fantasy booking, but Yeah,
it is. It is fantasy booking. Yeah. And Bronson Reed's not coming back anytime soon. Unfortunately, he's still many months off. from that. I think Fatu leading a group of his own is intriguing to me because he did that in MLW.
Yeah.
So it's something we've seen him do before. I could see that, him assembling like a little crew of his own. I don't even know that it has to be all Samoans necessarily. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the plan or not. I'd be fine with it either way, whether he's on his own, whether he's with a group. I think that he will shine if he's on his own. So it doesn't really matter to me. The key is, though, to play out this stuff with him and Solo Sikoa, and then at some point in these next few months, what is the direction for Jacob Fatu coming out of the Bloodline stuff? Because that's what I'm most interested in. And you didn't mention also we have, Hikuleo is waiting in the wings, and Lance Anoa'i, who, as Dave Meltzer said, may not make it. Hopefully he'll make it. I hope he pulls through.
Like he's on his deathbed.
Well, I hope he pulls through. But yeah, so I mean, there's other people they could also potentially align with Fatu. So yeah, it's all fantasy booking, but I think this will be. I called him the breakout star of the year for me in WWE in 2024. We talked about the Slammy categories last week.
Yeah.
But this could be a real breakout year for him once he's on his own.
Yeah, he's. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him. He's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Speaking of fantastic, the other thing coming out of Friday night before we go on to Monday Night Raw is we have now the official debut of Rey Fenix. This is happening on Friday, and he will be with the SmackDown brand.
Rey Fenix.
As Rey Fenix. He's not Phoenix. He's not Rey something else. He's Rey Fenix, which I was actually surprised by. They'll let him keep his name.
I think Phoenix may be trademarked possibly by, it might be AAA. So Rey Fenix, it may have been that they had to call him that unless they were just going to completely change his name. So I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the same thing, that they would just shorten it. And even if they shortened it, that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But when I saw Rey, I said, oh, okay, that's how you could tell Vince McMahon's not around anymore, We got Rey Mysterio, pal. We got to drop the Rey. It's no. He's Rey Fenix.
Thank God those days are over. But
he's Rey Fenix.
He's coming in 3 weeks before WrestleMania, Jason. And normally they would save something like this for after WrestleMania, but he's such a big name coming on in with a lot of fanfare and a lot of what happened in AEW. So people are obviously going to be talking, and there's going to be a lot of discussion online. They're bringing him in now. Does that mean to you that he's going to factor in some way, shape, or form on the WrestleMania card, or they're just bringing him in to just give SmackDown the much-needed boost that it desperately needs? Some interest on that show, not having factored into WrestleMania. Where do you see them going with Rey Fenix?
I think debuting him before WrestleMania means that they have some plan for him at WrestleMania. Otherwise, I don't know why you wouldn't just wait until the immediate aftermath. Although, keep in mind, there is somebody else waiting in the wings that they have been promoting. They haven't given a name yet to it, so we're just sort of assuming here. But they have these spooky vignettes with these different Roman numerals. So I have a feeling they're saving that person for after WrestleMania. So maybe they just wanted to separate them a little bit. But if he's debuting this Friday in Chicago, which is a great place for him to debut because Chicago is just a great wrestling city, I would imagine that means they have some idea for him at WrestleMania. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense that they would kind of rush him onto TV now and then just not have a plan for him for that show.
Do you like the fact that they are keeping the Lucha Brothers separate on separate brands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And if they're going to keep them separate, I think it's the smart move to keep them on separate brands.
Okay.
As opposed to making them singles and having them both on Raw or having them both on SmackDown. You will always be able to, and they will at some point, unite them. And we will get the Lucha Bros at some point. Penta's on a roll now, though, even though he just took his first pinfall loss, technically. I mean, he was in a tag match, but he lost last night, but he's involved in the Intercontinental title picture. He's doing very well for himself. Let's see how Phoenix does. I don't know if he'll do as well as Penta, but give him the chance. And if it doesn't work out, or even if it does, down the road, very easy for them to put them together, and we get a Lucha Bros tag team in WWE. So I like it. I like it. I think that it's a smart move. You said he's like a big name. He's a big name to the people who know who he is, and because of everything it took for him to get here. I mean, he's not like a main event level guy, but he's a big enough name that I think when he walks out there on Friday, he's going to get a great reaction, like Penta did in, was it San Diego?
Yeah.
It was San Diego, yeah. So I think he'll do well at first, and as with everything, the key is when we're 6 weeks in, what are they doing with Rey Fenix? Penta has impressed me as far as his promo work so far in WWE. I'm curious to see if Rey Fenix can do the same. I don't know. So I'm curious to find out.
I think he's going to fare well. I do.
So?
Yeah. Verbally, vocal wise, yeah. I think he's going to fare well. As far as his debut match, who do you see him going up against as a prediction? Obviously, you got your Santos Escobars and your Andrades.
Your Carmelo Hayeses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say him first because he's doing so well on SmackDown right now.
Oh, you don't like Mello as Miz?
Started on this. The number one draft pick. Any of those three. I mean, I don't think Andrade because I think he'll debut as a babyface. So I think he'll be against the heel. So I think it's probably Mello or Escobar. I think it's one of those two.
All right. We'll see what happens on Friday.
And they'll give him a great match, just like look who they picked out for Penta's first match. Could you find a better opponent for him in his first match?
You could have not found a better guy than Chad Gable.
Well, actually, you could have found, yes, you could. There is one guy who I would say would have been better. He wears a mask.
Rey Mysterio?
Grande Americano.
Oh, Grande.
It's a fucking layup.
Grande.
I fed it to you.
I wasn't thinking him
I fed
then.
it to you. Mr. Coffee Man over here. I said, okay, Grande Americano. He's like, Rey Mysterio? Like, fucking layup.
I'm thinking, whatever, man.
Oh, my God.
This guy. What was I going to... did you see what Finn Balor said about Penta today on social media? He tweeted a picture... He tweeted a picture of him pinning Penta, and he labeled it Pinta.
Yes. Well, Penta's pin by pin Balor. It only makes sense.
Oh, man, I got a chuckle out of that, man. I thought about you. I'm like, oh, yeah, coming from Pin Balor over here. That's great. That's real comical.
Perfect. It's perfect. And we're totally getting a fatal four-way at WrestleMania.
Yeah, unfortunately. We'll get there. Let's shift gears to Monday Night Raw because that was definitely one of the bigger... Monday Night Raws of the WrestleMania season last night, and we started things off with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And I know there's been a lot of discourse. I know Jason has said his piece. I've said my piece. I was a little bit more, I would say, not that Jason's not open-minded, but I was a little bit more, let's see what Cena does in week 3, because I said that if you're going to criticize anything in regards to John Cena, I think that's wrong because I think he, above everybody else, knows exactly what he's got to do and what he's got to say. And like I said last week, a lot of what they've given us has been very good. I don't want to sit here and tell you it's not. It's been very good. Could it have been more? Sure. But I mentioned last week that these promos, Jason, from week 1 into week 2, it's been like you playing a video game and it's like a season pass or a battle pass. They give you a little drip content here, drip content there, just so that you don't get bored and that you remain interested just long enough until they do the next thing. That's exactly what they did week 1 into week 2. And then week 3, everybody said, we need a face-to-face. We need a promo battle back and forth. Why haven't they done it? Are they afraid that Cena's going to bury Cody? As if Cody can't stand up on his own and cut a fucking promo that's going to bury anybody. He's a great promo, one of the best storytellers in the business. And then a lot of people were making excuses as to why we didn't get that. We finally got it last night. And I feel with everything that happened on Monday, you know, it was John Cena versus the WWE Universe. We finally got a sense that it's John Cena versus Cody Rhodes last night. They hit a fucking home run. The one thing that I don't like is that they still haven't mentioned anything about The Rock, which I'm holding out hope for because if Cena is not going to be on the show the next 3 weeks and they're going to be back in the States, I don't see how Triple H is going to rely on Cody to sell this storyline for 3 straight weeks and have it remain interesting. There's got to be something there. Something has to happen where it just continues the momentum. Whether we get another Mama Rhodes outside the tour bus type of thing where he beats the shit out of Cody Rhodes. I don't know what the case is, but John Cena did not mention anything about The Rock. And I'll start off with that before we dive into the promo. The fact that he didn't mention The Rock, is it the fact that John Cena is just going to give The Rock his platform to say and explain what happens because John Cena doesn't need to? Why didn't he mention The Rock at all in the last 3 weeks?
Beats the hell out of me. I mean, it's been a month, right? Today's April 1st.
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber was March 1st. So we are 4 weeks into this now. And the only mention of The Rock was a brief mention by Cody last night when he made the comment. He goes, well, I wasn't the one, or who was the one who sold out to The Rock? And everybody reacted to it. Cena no-sold it in that he didn't, mention The Rock. He didn't respond and mention The Rock. So I don't know what's going on with The Rock. I don't know if we're going to see him next week. I don't know if we're not going to see him at all until WrestleMania. I don't know if plans changed and they decided to kind of phase him out of this. I don't know. I really don't. So that to me has been one of the big missing ingredients here. I agree. But like what I saw last night, I felt kind of the same way, where it's like, all right, this is more like it. Because we had 2 weeks of John Cena feuding with the fans. And it's like, look, we are a month out, less than a month from WrestleMania. And I don't feel like we have much of a real issue between the two guys in the main event of WrestleMania. Right? It didn't feel like there was a lot of bad blood between Cena and Cody, considering what Cena did to him at Elimination Chamber. And I was waiting for something to spark. I was waiting for some kind of back and forth, because that's what I was looking forward to make this fun. Was that back and forth. And I know Cena's very limited in the number of dates that he has. So finally, last night, we got that back and forth. Now, you mentioned that, is he going to be on the show again? He's not scheduled for any more shows between now and Mania. That doesn't mean that we won't see him. I'm holding out hope. He'll pop up. It'll be a surprise. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the interview he gave to People magazine. And Cena had a quote. He mentioned, there's more unpredictability on the way. I hope so. It makes me think back to the quote from Cody in October, which we talked about. I brought that up several weeks ago.
Yep.
So, Cena's saying there's more unpredictability on the way. I don't want to give it all away. I don't want to give spoilers out, but there's more unpredictability on the way. So if I was surprised by the fact that they didn't come back at the very end of the show and have Cena attack Cody for what he did to him at the beginning of the show. Because we had the first bit of physicality between them. And it was one crossroads, and Cena sold it like he was dead. Like he took one crossroads and just laid there, eyes closed. And I thought, okay, maybe at the end, Cody's going to be going out to his bus. Cena's going to try to run him down with his fucking car. Something's going to happen. And then nothing happened. My guess, we'll get a surprise Cena appearance either next week or the week after. Because if not, and we don't really see him again until Mania, that's disappointing. Because as great as that segment was last night, there's still more that can be done, between these two. But like you said, it was an excellent segment last night. Still only my second favorite thing on the entire show. I did not think this was the best segment on the entire show. I have that reserved for the Gunther and the Uso segment, which I thought was fantastic, and we'll get into that. But it hit the notes that they had to hit. And there was a lot of biting lines. We had a Vince McMahon and Tony Khan reference without naming either of them. And so they were lobbing bombs at each other and going back and forth. And everybody's like, oh, who won? Who won the promo battle? And I said, like, the fans won, because we finally got a segment, worth paying attention to here. If I had to give the edge to anybody, and again, maybe I'm in the minority on this, I give the edge to Cody. Not that Cena didn't do well. Cena had his lines, but I give it to Cody because Cody was able to stand his ground. I think some people thought maybe he would wilt like a flower or Cena would overwhelm him. He held his own, and he threw it right back at his face. And the line that really caught my attention was when he said to Cena, you're the reason for so many disenfranchised fans. The reason I left this company is because you disenfranchised so many fans that it gave me a reason to kind of pack my bags and leave, right? It was something to that effect.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth in that. Like, I have friends who stopped watching during that period because they just got bored of all the Cena shit.
I stopped watching for sure.
Yeah. So that's a real phenomenon that happened. And so he was throwing it right back at him. And then again, he brought The Rock up, and I'm like, thank God somebody finally brought The Rock up here. But it was great. It was just great to get that interaction and get some semblance of an explanation from Cena about why. Why did you do what you did? Why did you go after Cody? And last night was the first time that he actually addressed that.
He did. Cena said he would not reduce himself to punch Rhodes down and go to Rhodes' level. Cena wouldn't protect Rhodes because he's been protected long enough. It's funny that he said that. He did try to throw everything that we all felt about Cena at Cody and kind of get to it first before Cody eventually threw it right back at him for the same reasons. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Cena wouldn't cook Rhodes. He would bury him, he said, just like he buried everybody else. Cena then said the fans accused him of burying other talent. Cena was the talent. He buried mediocrity. And I really like that line. A lot of people in the narrative out there is that Cena, buried talent. He was very political. Cena's come out several times, and I tend to believe him that he wasn't political in any way. He just did what Vince wanted. We all knew that he was a product of Vince McMahon. If Cena wanted to work with somebody, I'm sure that they would give him the right to work with whoever he wanted. But he normally just went and listened to Vince and did what Vince wanted. What did you think about that line, Jason, where Cena said he was the talent and he buried mediocrity, and that the fans accused him of burying other talent? Because I think we look at the span of John Cena's career, the first half to the second half. I'm more of a fan of the second half, being that I was a little bit older. I understood why he was back. I think he did more for the business and more for the company than he did in the first. Just as a fan's perspective, he did more that I enjoyed. I honestly feel like he did a lot for the talent. I could see why people say that, but I do think John Cena was an advocate for the talent, and he said as much. He's always been around the idea of the company doesn't need me, and he doesn't want to be in the way of building younger talent, because at some point I'm not going to be here anymore, and the talent that I'm in the ring with are the ones that are going to be building and the building blocks of the company. What'd you make of that line?
And Cody, by the way, Cody had a line about how don't pretend like you left this place better than it was when you found it.
Yep.
Which was another line there.
Yep.
I don't know, when he was talking about, like, I don't bury talent, I bury mediocrity. Alex Riley popped up in my head. Because,
or the Nexus.
Or the next. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can find examples of that. But I like the way that they're sort of trying to weave these, I don't even know what you would call them. They're not really rumors per se, but just these ideas, these preconceived notions and ideas that people have had about Cena for years and years. And I'm kind of with you on that. The second half of like his full-time active career, that's really where I think he did his best work.
Yeah.
And had the better matches. And I'm including the Punk stuff, from 20, maybe even that's like the line of demarcation here. Maybe from that point forward, like 2011 on, just all the great matches that he had. And he did tend to be more selfless, I think, than maybe certain other main event talents would have been during that period, because, he put Punk over at Money in the Bank in Chicago and SummerSlam back to back. Look what happened in the match with Brock at SummerSlam. Find me another main eventer at his level who would have been totally fine going out there and being destroyed in the way that he was.
Well, Vince wanted that. He said, "You know what, boss? I got you. I'm going to go out there and make this guy look like a savage." That's what he did.
Well, I mean, again, that was going to be Daniel Bryan, and then he got hurt, and so they plugged Cena in there. But Cena could have protested that if he wanted to and said, "Look, that's going to make me look incredibly weak. I have to have some offense here." He's like, "Nope, okay. That's the plan, then that's what we'll do, and we'll run that play." And so he went out there and got destroyed. And so you could find other examples of that as well. But Cody talking about how, actually it was Cena who mentioned that you were my chauffeur, right? Cody mentioned we used to ride together, and then Cena called him, "You used to be my chauffeur, and you would listen to me, and you stole from me," right? You're trying to be me and emulate me, but you're not genuine. Now, this is the other thing that I love. So he's talking about how you got to be authentic, and you're too polished, and you're too, and I've heard that critique for Cody, but at the same time, like, when Cena was doing those cornball, like, goofy promos, you talk about inauthentic. Like, Cena was the poster child for that for a period of time. When I'm not talking Doctor of Thugonomics, or like, there were moments where the real Cena would shine through, even when he feuded with The Rock that first time. But when Cena was doing the Vince McMahon comedy bullshit, and he'd come out on TV every week, like, it was just so, he was hamming it up so much, and it was so inauthentic. Like you said, it was almost like he was projecting. And the things that may have been said about him in the past, he was saying the same thing about Cody now.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that aspect of the promo too.
Yeah, Cena said he tried to tell him that he needed to be authentic because the fans could see right through phony. Like Jason said, I mean, there's not a better example of phony than John Cena, especially through those Vince McMahon days. Rhodes didn't listen. It showed. He was too perfect, too rehearsed. A lot of people usually say that Cody comes out looking like he's running for presidential office. I get the criticisms for Cody. I get the fact that Cody has small pocket of fans that don't like what he does. He's too polished, like Cena said. He's boring, whatever else the excuse may be. I don't really believe any of that stuff. I think Cody's fucking great. I think Cody backs it up in the ring as well, which is a rarity, especially nowadays with, being the WWE champion. A lot of times the WWE champion is all star power and they kind of lack in the ring. I think Cody's a well-molded superstar that does everything excellent. Cena said Rhodes relied on the fans signing his name or singing his name in his song. He was the Pied Piper because everyone, You know, they love a catchy tune, and these are tricks that Cody uses to thinking, you know, people like him, but it's all mediocrity. I love that, and I love the fact that Cena brought that up as well. Like, everybody makes fun of that about Cody. He's nothing but a fucking American Idol sing-along every time he's out there.
I was like, poor Jey Uso. I felt like he's like, you're nothing more than like a catchy song at an entrance. I'm like, man, Jey Uso taking strays here. Because that, I mean, how many people have said that about him the last 6 weeks since he won the Rumble, or 2 months?
I know. Rhodes did not like. He did not look like Cena. He did not act like Cena. He didn't work like Cena. But Rhodes didn't look like, act like, or work like himself either. He was a generic mix of every superstar and TV show he's ever loved. He was still a kid who was afraid of public speaking. Nowadays, there was enough to trick all of these people. Cena worked too hard to make the belt a symbol of mastery, to have it paraded around by a paint-by-numbers Nepo baby that was so into himself that he had his wrestling gimmick tattooed for the world to see. And there's the mention of the ridiculous tattoo. The problem with Rhodes' tattoo wasn't its location. It's that it made him look like everyone else in this building. A fan, basically a mark. I like that line as well. Cena then advised Cody to go to Fanatics and buy a toy belt after WrestleMania because the last real champion was taking the belt home forever. He would expose Rhodes as the errand boy who simply got lucky. So obviously Rhodes goes on to rebuttal, and he says that he was a wrestler like his father. If anyone was a company creation, it was John Cena. People were afraid of Cena on the mic, but Rhodes wasn't, because Cena had more dick on the mic than in his jorts. So they really cover all their bases here. Cena insulted him for acting like a 16-year-old, taking public speaking lessons, but Cena was the one hanging out with Zac Efron wishing he was 16. Now, he goes on and mentions that Cena was the one who sold out to The Rock. Rhodes said Cena was still his hero, though, but also he was a piece of shit. Cena said Rhodes' brain was full of feces and not facts. He starts laughing at this point. He worked 100 times harder than Rhodes, and he was never protected from the fans or a superstar taking their best shot at him. Everyone took their strongest swing when he was in the ring, and no one was ever worthy. He just did it all himself. Cena was always the one that made things great, no matter what garbage they gave him. Rhodes had to leave because his best...
That's bullshit. Calling bullshit on that one.
Well, he's trying to heal it up.
Calling bullshit on that one.
Rhodes had to leave because his best couldn't wipe Cena's ass. Cena made empires for billionaires, while Cody only stole money from their kids. I thought Mortal Kombat fatality, like the sound effect just played in my head. That was a great line, man. I gotta admit, Cena dropped the microphone after that, and then obviously fans are chanting, "You can't wrestle," because Rhodes says, before you leave the ring, John, I wanted to let you know one more thing. Never have the fans once chanted at me, "You can't wrestle." So obviously London chanted, "You can't wrestle." Crossroads, he laid him out, and that was the end of the segment. You said Cody won the promo battle, Jason, maybe by a smidgen. I'm going John Cena. I think Cena won the promo battle. Not that it made Cody look bad, because I do agree with you. I think Cody stood up on his own, and he fucking handled it better than most against John Cena, as he's one of the best promos maybe ever. But I do think Cena had the edge here.
So do we think that Sting is basically out the window to induct Lex Luger after that billionaires line? Is that
that is a potential, yeah.
Very distinct possibility.
Yeah. And somewhere Vince McMahon is like clenching his fists somewhere in his rocking chair. I don't know. Who gives a shit about those?
Yeah, I try not to think about him, but yeah, it was interesting. There have been quite a few I guess kind of subtle, maybe not so subtle references to AEW on WWE television over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we had two of them in this promo alone, because Cody was making fun. He was like, "John, what do you want to make fun of? You want to make fun of my lisp? You want to make fun of the fact that I got booed out of the company that I started?" And then came the billionaires line. We had Drew McIntyre on Friday. I got glass in my eye. And then as Punk's walking by, he looks over at him. He goes, "That's a shame." He keeps on walking. I'm like, and then there was one other one too. I think, it was Ricky Starks and Sean Spears in NXT. He made reference to, hey, if things don't work out here for you, you burned a bridge somewhere else, so you may have nowhere to go. So there's been a bunch of references recently on TV, but and Punk, of course, saying that he works with children.
It's WrestleMania season. This is the time of year last year. Remember that Triple H made that comment about Will Ospreay indirectly is afraid of the grind. It was about that time on the Pat McAfee show.
Which was a stupid thing for him to say.
Yes, it was. It was equally stupid for Ospreay to address it live on air as well.
Well, to address it on the show, yeah, was stupid too. But I could totally understand why he would be upset by that, because
sure.
it's just such a bullshit thing to say. Because full well that if he would have signed on, Triple H would have sang his praises, and just because he didn't, it's not as if he's not working his ass off. But no, this was great stuff. This is exactly what this feud needed. I do think it will be very disappointing if we do not see John Cena again before WrestleMania. There's 2 Raws left, so it's not like we have a month of Raws left, but those are 2 very important episodes of Raw. We have not had heel John Cena yet on U.S. soil, so to not get him at all again until Vegas would be disappointing. I'm hoping that it's going to be a surprise, and he may try to get his heat back and jump Cody for what Cody did to him. I don't know if it'll be on the level of what Rock did to Cody last year, where he bloodied him up outside the bus. That was a great angle. So I don't know if we're going to get that, but this was great. This was great, and still only the second best thing on the show.
Which we will get into now. I guess we'll get into that. Jey Uso and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. On Raw, it was Jimmy standing up for his brother against the big man Gunther here. The match was
you have to back up to the segment before the match where we had the brothers Uso. They were talking in the back, and it was giving off Rocky vibes. Like this sense of dread that I had for Jimmy, because I had a sense that something bad was about to happen.
Well, if you smack Gunther the way that he smacked Gunther last week, I'm assuming that he knew a receipt was coming at some point. But yes,
I would think so. I would think so.
Jimmy told Jey he wanted to take on Gunther alone tonight. I don't know if that was the best of ideas, but that's what he wanted. Jey says he would feel better if he were out there. Jey knew. Jimmy said Gunther was a big deal, but so were they. There was no ring general tonight, and Gunther was beatable. Jimmy would beat him tonight, and Jey would beat him at WrestleMania to become the World Heavyweight Champion. They shook hands, and then Jey pulled him in close, and basically, in a very, I don't know, what would you call this type of tone, Jey? It's very concerned, scared.
It was concerned, almost somber.
Yeah.
Like he thought, okay, something bad could happen here.
Yeah.
Kind of foreboding.
Yeah, that's a good word.
That's a good word.
Yep. Be careful is what he said. So
yes.
we get to the match. The match was fine. I honestly, I don't know if it's a hot take or not. I think Jimmy is a little bit better than Jey in ring. So I didn't really mind the television match that we got for 9 minutes.
Promos too.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, Jimmy cut a promo on SmackDown on Friday. He stood up on the announce desk. It was funny because he was going to grab, the play-by-play guy. Joe Tessitore.
Oh, Joe Tessitore. Okay.
Pat McAfee.
I don't know.
He's Pat McAfee doing
now.
Play-by-play on this show. Don't answer that.
You want that? I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. Now that you
wanted that. That's why I said, do you want him to do play-by-play?
No, I don't. I don't mind Pat McAfee. Like everybody else seems to find him annoying. I mean, he's fine, but whatever.
He is annoying. But so on SmackDown, he went to go reach for Tessitore's headset, and he pulled his head back, like, no, you're not touching my headset. Here's one, and he put it on, and he cut this promo. He goes, you're not going to be the ring general after I get done with you. You're going to be Private Gunther. And then he said some other stuff, and he had the fans, behind him. But just like his promo style, not just his in-ring style, which honestly, his in-ring style is not radically different. I kind of feel like the match we saw last night, that was kind of a preview of the WrestleMania match that we're going to get. But yeah, I think that there's a little bit more when it comes to Jimmy's promos than there are for Jey. Because Jey just feels like he's been too reliant on the yeet stuff. And I understand him wanting to get it over, and it's on T-shirts. He wants to sell merch. But one of the reasons why I love this so much, what happened last night, is because now, I hope, they've unlocked a different version of Jey Uso than the one that we have seen since the Royal Rumble. And that was my biggest thing about this. Like, how many weeks now has Jey talked about how people have doubted him, right? Every week. We hear the same thing. People doubt you. People doubt. Yes, we understand that. We know people doubt you. But there had to be something that took this to that next level. And what happened last night took this to that next level.
It did. This was exactly what this feud needed. So, Gunther, that King Kong dropkick that he does, followed up by the power bomb. He had the match won at that point. He's just fucking around with Jimmy Uso here. Pulls his shoulder off the mat. Gunther hits a clothesline, lifted him up again, toying with him. Crowd's trying to get into it, get Jimmy back into it. Gunther applied a sleeper hold. Jimmy passed out. So Gunther placed Jimmy in the sleeper again after the match. So Jay ran out to his music, and Jay tackled Gunther, start throwing some bombs at him, ground and pound. Gunther quickly escaped through the crowd. We go to a commercial break. Now, Jason, tweeted, this is fucking lame. Look at this, man. We needed one thing to happen. It didn't happen. I got a little too hasty.
You got ahead of yourself.
I know. I mean, can you blame me? Look at how we've gotten this feud so far. You can't really blame me for thinking that WWE is not going to follow up here when we had 6 weeks of absolutely nothing. So we get back from the commercial break. I'm like, oh shit, this is where it's all going down. So they kind of trolled you. It happened after the commercial break, where before the commercial break, everything was going away. So during the break, Jimmy sold the sleeper. Jay is in the ring. Medical staff is there. So all of a sudden, Gunther comes back out and he attacks Jimmy Uso and Jay Uso. Gunther attacked both of them from behind. Security tried to stop Gunther. Powerbomb one of them onto the steel steps, one of the security geeks. Gunther then zip ties Jay to the ring rope, so he can't go anywhere. So he's isolated there, and then this leaves Gunther open to just have his way with Jimmy Uso. Throws Jimmy into the barricade. Gunther held the title belt up, taunted Jay with it. You're never going to get this. You're not better than me. You're not on my level. Fans are calling Gunther at this point a wanker. You got to love the United Kingdom. Jimmy got on the apron. Gunther hit him with the title belt. This is where it got bloody because Jimmy was busted open with the title belt shot. Gunther
it's not enough to just say that he was bleeding. Like he was wearing the crimson mask.
He was.
Like he was
John Moxley-esque for sure here.
Yes, he was covered.
So Gunther at this point sees Jimmy bloodied. Jimmy hops back up on the apron. Gunther powerbombed him. Jay at this point, love him being zip-tied because he's just reaching, and the visual of him reaching, he can't do anything here. He's desperately trying to reach Jimmy here. Gunther wiped Jimmy's blood all over his body, tasted some of it, and spit it out. So I don't remember the last time Gunther did anything remotely that animalistic, but I have no problem with that whatsoever because we've never seen the man do anything like that. So that visual really sold everything in this segment. Gunther then placed a bloody Jimmy in a sleeper, and this is the part that I love the most, Jason. He applied the sleeper literally within fingernail distance of Jay Uso, and Jay could not do anything about it. He had to watch his brother bleeding, and Gunther just looking up at him. This entire thing was fucking phenomenal, man. I had people hating on this, and then obviously creating this tribalistic thing. Well, they complained about this, but they love this. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you guys, man. I'm blocking you out. This was tremendous television. I don't know if it saved the entire build, but I am more interested now in this than I was for the last 6 weeks, man. This was fucking unbelievable.
You missed the best part, which is that he's got Jimmy down. He takes Jimmy down in the sleeper, right? And again, he's within an arm's length, and Jay is trying to reach out for his brother, but he can't quite reach him. And as Gunther is choking this man out, and he's covered in Jimmy's blood, he's looking up at Jay, and he calls him, "You big pussy." He goes, "Come on, you big pussy." And it caught me so off guard. I just started laughing. Like I did not expect that at all. But he's taunting this man and laughing at. He looked like a fucking psychopath out there. And that's exactly what I was hoping to see. And it was even more savage, honestly, than I thought that they would do.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't think they were going to take it to that level and get that much, or if any blood. But when the blood is used in certain situations like this, it can be very jarring and very effective. That's why the blood in the Hell in a Cell match of Bad Blood with Punk and McIntyre was so great. Because when was the last time we got blood in a Hell in a Cell match? Like we don't see it anymore really in WWE. So it was very effective there. And this is exactly what this feud needed. Just like the opening segment. That's exactly what that needed. The key, of course, is in the follow-up. How they're going to follow up on this. Same thing with this. But now this hopefully will unlock this new, angrier, kind of bitter version of Jey Uso, who's going to be out for revenge. But I loved it because it's classic old school pro wrestling. It's a very simple story. Like what they did, it wasn't like they were kind of reinventing the wheel here. It's a very basic angle, but it's just so effective when you do it right. And last night was a home run. It was a slam dunk. And now we'll see what version of Jey Uso we get going forward, because Gunther told him, he told him weeks and weeks ago, it was like 10 weeks left. He goes, "I'm going to make your life a living hell and I'm going to hurt you." And he hurt him all right. He hurt him last night, not physically, but he hit him where it hurts because he went after his family. So I had one person email me and ask me, well, Jay go after Ludwig Kaiser now? I don't think so. I mean, he could, I guess, but they've created so much separation now between Gunther and Kaiser. I don't know if that's, something that they would do. But this was fantastic. Like, this right here is what I love about pro wrestling. When you do an angle like that right, it's just so fucking good.
Yeah, everything hit. Someone in the chat says it was forced blood. No, it wasn't. Well, I don't know why anybody said or would say that it's forced blood. It was needed.
Forced blood? What does that even mean?
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Oh, like it wasn't appropriate for the... Yeah, I completely 100% disagree on that.
Yeah, me too. I don't know.
Exactly. It was required blood. I mean, at this point, this thing was dying on the vine. It needed something like this.
The visual of Gunther standing at the end of that segment holding the championship up and his entire chest is just smeared in Jimmy's blood. I mean, it looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead. It looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead where he just got done with a horde of walkers. I mean, it's just fucking unbelievable.
A horde of Walters.
Yeah, horde of Walters. Yeah. This was great. Exactly what Jason said. This was needed. I don't know where they go from here. I know Jay can't come out yeeting next week. I know that for sure. I don't want to see any yeeting until the celebration happens and he wins the world championship. But how would you book this now, Jason? With 2 Raws left to go, what does Jay do to get some semblance of revenge here before WrestleMania? I mean, does he go after Gunther, try and run him over with his rent-a-car? I mean, what happens here? How do you build this?
Like his dad did with Stone Cold? No, yeah. I don't think you need to do that. I think that next week he needs to come to the building. You could do a show-long storyline where, you start from the very beginning. He gets to the building. Adam Pearce is there. He's got security. He knows Jay is all jacked up. He's going to be looking for Gunther. And he wants to murder this man for what he did. And like I said, you could string the story along throughout the night. Gunther is there, but he's trying to avoid Jay. And maybe Jay never gets his hands on him. Maybe Jay just goes nuts and he's beating up security guys. And we just see such a vicious side of this guy. Like he's unhinged. And then maybe the following week. Now, I don't know. Is the following week the last Raw before Mania? There's 2 more, right? Or is there 3? I think there's 2.
Let me look at my calendar. I'm not really sure. I thought there was 3, but you may be right. Let me see.
No, I think there are only 2. So
there's 2 Raws. Yeah, the 8th and the 15th. Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, the 7th and the 14th. Yes.
So then on that last one, and I know it's kind of cliche, do a contract signing, but some kind of segment where they say no physicality, their last chance to confront each other and say what they want to say. And that's where Jey Uso he has to go out there in that last week, that last sales pitch, and just pour his heart out and cut the promo of his fucking life.
Yeah.
And again, not with the yeeting where he stops every 2 seconds to let the crowd chant. That's what I think you get in that last week. So next week, he's a man possessed. He's trying to get his hands on Gunther. Maybe he does briefly and they pull him away and, the cops are there and everything. But then the following week, no physicality, one last confrontation. Gunther says his piece, and Jay just cuts the promo of his life. And that's it. I mean, there really is nothing else left to do. You just get to a point where what else can be done? We know what the story is. The story is that Jey Uso cannot beat this man. And it took what happened to his brother, who told him last week, he flat out told Jay, no, I don't think you can beat Gunther. Not this version.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it. And it took what happened last night to just unlock something in him. And he knows, he doesn't think, he knows that he can beat Gunther and win the world title. That's it. That's the story going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, this is great. A lot of, listen, I've been very vocal about this. Jason has as well. It almost felt like coming out of the Royal Rumble, they didn't really have any sort of direction or plan. They just made the match, they made the moment, and before anything happened, that was all that they were concerned with. It almost felt like they didn't have any plan for either one of these guys coming out of the Royal Rumble. And we got what we got for a string of weeks. I mean, Jay teaming with Otis and Tozawa, and we see Otis wrestling Gunther and Tozawa wrestling Gunther. I'm like, all right, where's the
Theory,
story?
Waller.
Yeah, what's going on here? All it took was for Jay to botch a dive over the top rope, and they made that into what we're getting now. The doubt creeping in. He's not good enough. All the naysayers are getting to him. Then they did the spear spot where he slipped and he fell face first. And they're turning all of this now into what the story should have been. And I'm loving everything that they're doing right now. So they turned a negative into a positive, and they're finally, over the next 2 weeks, and after what we got last night, it looks like the second half of this build, Jason, has been fucking tremendous. And I would say, if you really wanted me, to give you an answer, I think they changed the trajectory of this storyline, and I think a lot more people now are more receptive to this, or should be, than they were coming out of the Royal Rumble. So kudos to WWE. They made it personal, which they did. They involved his blood brother, Jimmy, and now this is personal for Gunther as well. And I mentioned before, we talked about the World Championship here, not main eventing. Jay won the Royal Rumble. He's not main eventing WrestleMania. I know you talked about it. I think it was the sound off on Sunday. I mentioned it as well. Does Gunther, or should Gunther, harbor any ill will here, any feelings that he's not main eventing WrestleMania and that Jay chose him? You're the reason why I'm not main eventing WrestleMania. Do you think that should come into play as far as the dialogue that we see going into WrestleMania?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I mentioned that on my show this weekend, and they didn't do that last night because they had to do this angle first. But again, if we end up getting one last face-to-face, one last promo between them, 5 or 6 days before WrestleMania, I absolutely think that's something that Gunther should bring up. He should bring up the fact the reason I'm not main eventing my first WrestleMania, even though I'm walking in as the world heavyweight champion, is because of you. It's not because of me or anything that I've done or any of my inadequacies, because I have none. It's all because I am wasting my time in the ring with you. So he can incorporate that into his final promo and express why he's so frustrated. And that's why I'm not in the main event. It's because you're not worthy of being in the main event. I am.
Yeah, I think that would be a tremendous piece of business if they did add that, because it just adds another layer of just real life and real feeling from the internet fan base as well, into that storyline.
It just makes it also, like, on television that much more. You can realize how much more important it is for these guys to be in the main event. They all want to be in the main event, and so Gunther had it taken away from him, and now he's really upset about it.
Yeah, we will. We'll keep an eye on this. I think this is going to really end up being now, with what we saw, an even bigger moment at WrestleMania, and I can't wait to see.
So, do you open night 2 with it, or do you have the match on night 1? Because when Rollins wrestled McIntyre last year, was that night? It had to be the next night, because
Rollins wrestled McIntyre on night 2.
Okay. Yeah. So they had both title matches on the same night. Do you do that again this year, or do you do the World Championship match on night 1? Or does it depend on whether or not we get a title change in the night 2 main event? Because we're definitely going to get one here.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards it having it open night 1.
Night 1, not night 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think either way,
I was going to say it depends on where they put Rhea, Io, and Bianca as well. I don't know.
I would put them probably like in the middle.
Okay.
Right in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the women.
Yeah.
As far as Gunther and Jay, I think you can open either night with it.
Yeah. Either one's fine. But yes, that moment's going to be incredible, and this definitely aided in that for sure. The other big things that happened on Monday night, I guess we'll talk about this just briefly. Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio defeated Penta and Braun Breaker. They were a team. Can they coexist? Obviously, Penta and Braun Breaker. Balor pins Penta. This is his first legit pinfall loss in WWE. He did lose once before, but it wasn't him taking the pinfall. So this is clearly setting up a Finn Balor chasing the Intercontinental Championship now, because theoretically, Jason, he pinned Penta, who is, I guess, the de facto number 1 contender. So in his eyes, I pinned Penta. I should get a championship match, even though this guy already called his shot. So right now, we could be looking at a triple threat match, but Dominic is certainly going to be added to this, making it a fatal 4-way. How do you see this playing out? And I said last night on my show, with Penta taking the pinfall, I think it's pretty solid that out of the 4 here, he's walking out with the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania.
I think it's too early to say that. I actually think that people who aren't considering the possibility of a Dominic Mysterio win are counting him out a little too quickly.
Well, okay, listen. You said this about Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. You said, people sleeping on Jey Uso. This is a possibility. So you know what? I think we should take Jason at that as a serious contender for Dominic Mysterio winning this match. So I agree with what you said there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, don't just assume that it's going to be Braun retaining or, Penta winning the championship, because I could definitely see Dom winning it, and that would just set Balor off the deep end. But it's pretty clear we're heading towards a fatal four-way. You have Liv Morgan last night stirring shit up in the back. Balor went off to go talk to Adam Pearce about getting a title match. And Liv was like, hey, look, I mean, you gonna let him talk to you like that? Like, he said that he won the match, but you both won the match. He had a shot a few weeks ago with the Intercontinental title. He lost. You had a match for the Intercontinental title. You didn't lose, right? It was like a DQ or something. And she's like, I'm going to go talk to Adam Pearce about you getting a shot. So it's pretty clear where this is headed. And the destruction of the Judgment Day feels like it's imminent. And frankly, it's overdue, for being honest. But yeah, I look, given the way the story has gone, a fatal four-way in this case makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. I was thinking, you mentioned Dominic possibly winning the Intercontinental Championship. I was thinking more along the lines of Penta winning the championship. They move Breaker onto Goldberg because he's been in the news a couple of times lately, and he's training for his retirement match.
Summer though, that's probably SummerSlam.
What
do you do with him in the meantime?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Saudi. I thought Goldberg and Braun Breaker in Saudi Arabia. SummerSlam works for me. I mean, I figured he'd come back for the major payday in Saudi. That's what my line.
Do we even know when the Saudi show is going to be? Because I think they're only doing one this year. So if they do one,
I thought it was in May.
No, they have a Saturday night's main event.
Oh, June,
Memorial Day weekend. So if they were doing one in May, we would have known about it by now. And because they just started the Crown Jewel stuff, I assume they're not going to not do that this year. So I don't know if we're getting a Saudi show until November.
Interesting. If it happens at SummerSlam, that works too. I think that's a major match that they could do there. But that's what my line of thinking was. Breaker getting ready for Goldberg, and he loses the title to Penta. And then Balor Dominic fits the Backlash kind of vibe as well. So I figured they'd do that in St. Louis. But if that works out, that Dominic wins the Intercontinental Championship, I don't really think anyone's going to have a problem with that.
No, I think he's going to hold singles gold at some point in the near future. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. I would have no problem if it ends up with him leading the Judgment Day. I just think the Judgment Day is a dead faction.
They were dead when they got rid of their theme music.
Yeah, I mean, they've been The Walking Dead for a while. So, I mean, they've squeezed about all out of this that they could possibly get. I would be okay if everybody just sort of moved on. That would probably be a bad thing for Carlito. But as far as like Dom and Liv, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, so that's shaping up to be a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. The other segment that we got was AJ Styles and Logan Paul. How you feeling about this, Jason? Because I know a lot of people get rubbed the wrong way by Logan Paul. They don't really like him. They don't like him for his political views and whatnot.
Logan Paul doesn't rub me at all. Just for the record, keep your hands to yourself, buddy.
AJ Styles, obviously a lot of people respect what AJ Styles brings to the table. He should be in a bigger match. Some say, I really do feel like this could be a sleeper match, but at the end of the night, Jason, I feel like this match is only happening because they couldn't find anything else better for these two guys to do, and they probably would work best together. I don't know what the real story is there. They really haven't carved out and fleshed out what the story is. Right now, it's just Logan Paul was intimidating that comedian in Madison Square Garden. AJ Styles saved him, and that's basically what we're running off here. I don't know how you feel about this, but I thought the segment was effective enough. The match announcement was made last night, and Logan showed us his new finisher art, which I thought looked beautiful. But outside that, I don't really have any interest in what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the way they've promoted this so far. Madison Square Garden, AJ Styles is going to call out Logan Paul. 3 weeks later, in London, Logan Paul is going to call out AJ Styles. And last night, what did Logan Paul do? He pointed up at the WrestleMania sign.
Yeah.
So now we have a match. Very paint-by-numbers stuff. And like you said, they didn't have anything better for either of these guys to do. I think that stylistically, I think they're going to be a good match. I think the match itself is going to be great. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to the match. I just haven't been excited at all by what they've done with them on TV. His new finish, the pulverizer. We saw that for the first time when he wrestled Rey Mysterio in that qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber, and it looked great. And then he hit it on AJ, who's a little bit bigger, and it looked great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a great move, and it'll be a great match. But as far as the build, I mean, very, very basic, average stuff.
Yeah, this is one of those really egregious, in-your-face moments where, the fan criticism of the WrestleMania build really just kind of stares you in the face, and people have every right to complain. I mean, these are two huge names, and it's like this is the best you got for both of these guys. I mean, all right, whatever. It should be a great match, but there's nothing really more than that.
What would you have Logan doing if not wrestling AJ? You want him in the ring with John Cena?
No. Well, I mean, I advocated for that, but looking back at it, now it's wrong.
Thankfully, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my point. Like, what else would you have him doing on this show?
Nothing.
It feels like this is probably the best scenario for him.
Yeah. So yeah, that's official for WrestleMania. Logan Paul and AJ Styles is confirmed, and then the main event, we got the ladies, the women's championship on the line. It was Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. This wasn't bad. Your typical championship television match here in the main event. Bianca Belair was your special guest referee, and I'm sure she had fun making her own referee attire. She makes her own attire. She looked great last night. This, Jason, was exactly what we thought it was going to be. There was
some rough moments, though, in this match.
There was. I don't know what it is. I know Io is usually very good at everything she does, but Rhea seems to be kind of off lately. I don't know if it's just, her coming back and she hasn't found her footing from the injury, or if it's nerve. I don't know what it is, but what do you think it is on Rhea's behalf? What could it be?
I didn't really notice anything out of the ordinary in their first match, so I just chalked it up to a bad night. And they ended up having it was still a good match, but there were a couple moments there. Like they had that Poison Rana attempt on the outside.
Yeah, I thought someone was going to die.
Yeah, that did not go well at all. And then when they got back in the ring, they were on the ropes. And this confused me because it looked like they were struggling where Io was setting up for another Poison Rana, and they're up there for a while, like jockeying for position. So Rhea gets her in like a Samoan drop position. I'm like, okay, she's going to give her a Samoan drop off the middle rope. And she did. And then Io didn't sell it. And then she covered Rhea as if she just hit Rhea with some big move. And I'm like, wait a minute. Are they trying to tell us that was a crucifix bomb?
Yes.
And they showed a replay of it, but like Io took most of the impact on it. So there was maybe one other moment like that. I just chalk it up to a bad night. Rhea's usually great. Io's always great. But this was not their best outing, I didn't think.
No, this was again your paint by numbers stuff. Like that was a bad spot. Yeah. I thought someone was going to fall to their demise there, but they managed to get through it. But with Bianca as the special guest referee, I had referenced last week. I had just got done watching the Yokozuna Lex Luger match at Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania 10. Perfect was the referee. I didn't think they'd go and do something as silly as what Perfect did there with Fuji and Cornette. But this was basically what had happened here. Rhea accidentally booted Bianca out of the ring, and she sold it for what seemed like for fucking ever. I mean, there was
she sold it like the Young Bucks with the thumbtack sneakers. Like she got kicked in the face with something like that. It's like even when she got back in the ring, she was still selling the kick.
There was a visual pin on Rhea with Rhea over Io for about 13 seconds. It's like she could have won the match 4 times over, and Bianca's still on the outside selling this boot to the chest. So that was the first spot. She gets back in the ring, and Rhea is obviously beside herself. She had the match won. And then later on in the match, only a couple moments later, we get Io jumping off the top rope with a missile dropkick, and she accidentally hits Bianca Belair, and she rolls to the opposite side of the ring. And then she eventually calls for the bell. And she's like, you know what? Double DQ. I had enough of this shit. I got my match at WrestleMania. I could not give a single shit what's going on here. And she threw the match out. And Rhea, at the end of the match, she gave Bianca a riptide. They called for one more time. And then she did an avalanche riptide off the top or the second rope. And that's the way the show went off the air, with the visual of her holding the women's championship up in the air. I don't know what they're going for here, Jason. Obviously, triple threat match. But, Bianca, especially on this international tour, I don't know if you picked up on it, she seems to be not really favored by the audiences there. I don't know what it is. I didn't really get a sense that they were building towards a Bianca Belair heel turn, but now maybe they are, and it's becoming a little bit more apparent. A lot of people on social media tend to think that Rhea was going to be built for a heel turn. I don't know if that's the right move. I think Bianca could benefit more from a heel turn than Rhea. What'd you make of the way that the show ended? Because Bianca's been getting some indifference from the crowd reactions the last 3 weeks.
I mean, I just think it's a matter of Rhea is just so damn popular, and people like Io. And then there's Bianca, and it's not just that she was getting like reactions that weren't as strong as the other two. She was getting booed.
Yeah.
In a lot of these places. And I'm just looking at this going, this woman has done nothing wrong. Like if you put yourself in her position, right? What has she done that would make her wrong in any of this? Like she won the Elimination Chamber. when she came out the next night and she sat at ringside, she didn't do anything wrong. She was clapping and cheering for Io, and it was Rhea who got all pissed off about it and caused all the controversy. And then Rhea's trying to work her way into a rematch, and Bianca's like, hey, be happy to give you a rematch after WrestleMania because I earned my shot. So then Rhea gets a rematch, and I'm like, well, why does she have to get a rematch now? Right? I thought it was well established that whoever came out of that Raw match as the champion was going to be defending against Bianca. And then Adam Pearce makes her the referee for the match. And I'm like, how are you not expecting there to be like, if you're just looking at it logically, like, how are you not expecting there to be some controversy coming out of this? Is all Adam Pearce's fault.
Yes.
So he's going to have to do the right thing because Rhea had the visual pin. He's not going to make another title match. What's he going to do? He's going to make it a triple threat, or there is another possibility here where the match will remain as is. And the winner of that match, whoever is the champion, defends against Rhea on night 2.
I actually like that idea. It's just to spare us from another triple threat match or a multi-person match. I think that idea works better. I like that.
I think that could absolutely work. Now, do they do what they did at WrestleMania 10, where everybody wants to see Bret and Lex, and we end up with Bret and Yoko? Everybody wants to see Rhea and Bianca, and we end up with Rhea and Io for a third time.
Nah.
Would they do it a third time, though?
Nah, I mean, they could. I don't want to see it. I would rather Rhea Bianca. That's the WrestleMania match that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yes, I mean, either way, whether it's a triple threat or because that's the thing with 2 nights, I mean, you can play with it.
Yeah.
You have some flexibility there. So either way, Rhea's going to obviously be wrestling for the championship at WrestleMania. I don't think anybody thinks otherwise. And still early, but you ask me, I think there's a better chance that Io wins than either of the other 2.
I think, honestly, now that we're looking at it, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, I'm going Io to retain. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, unless the idea is that Bianca is going heel, and I really don't feel that way, but if she was going to go heel, then, I mean, she would have to win, I think.
Yeah. I actually like that idea a lot. I've been wanting them to play off the idea of the 2 nights. How do they juggle that and use a match on night 1 that directly affects night 2? I think that works. If we're not going to do the main event and Punk, Rollins, Reigns, and all that stuff, I think that works beautifully. I like that.
Yeah.
Some news here from the chat. The chat, Jason, is saying that Ricky Starks, Tony Khan fumbled Ricky, and Ricky is now the new North American champion.
Very good. I'm happy for him. I figured that run that Spears was going to have with the belt was going to be very brief anyway.
Yeah.
He didn't have it for what do you have it for? A few weeks?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Transitional champion. They put the belt on Ricky. They put the belt on Julia pretty quick. They put a belt on Stephanie pretty quick. I mean, you could tell like they have their favorites, like, okay, these are the people that we're going to build this brand around. And how do you not look at Ricky Starks and think, okay, this is a guy that we can really kind of build this brand around. He could be part of that core group of guys. So I'm not surprised, but I'm happy for him. Again, this is something he's been waiting a long time for.
Good for him. Happy for him. Ricky is now the North American champion. I believe he's wrestling Ethan Page potentially at Stand and Deliver now. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but the chat was insinuating that could be a match at Stand and Deliver, which apparently has a 9:30 a.m. Las Vegas time, start time for that show.
So 12:30 Eastern. Is that WrestleMania Saturday or Sunday? That's got to be Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, right? Because on Sunday morning they're doing the well, not that it's like a big event, but they're doing the Slammies across all their social media channels on Sunday morning.
Oh, great.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're doing it live, like sitting down and doing it live somewhere, or if they're just going to pre-record it and then just air it. I don't know, but they've got that whole weekend is just jam-packed with different stuff.
So much shit going on. So Ricky's now the North American champion. Stephanie Vaquer has relinquished the women's North American championship, and Ava is going to assign 6 women in a ladder match, and we're going to crown our new North American champion for the ladies at Stand and Deliver. I don't know why they didn't just do that in the first place, and they had Stephanie wrestle twice and double her potential for injury, wrestling 2 times in one night. It's like, whatever.
Well, man, I don't know what Shawn Michaels is going to do. I don't think he's got enough women to choose from for that ladder match.
I know. Listen, there's a nice.
They don't have a very strong women's division down there, so I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Sol Ruka. I don't listen. This is the time for a breakout here. Sol Ruka. We have
Zarya.
Zarya. We have
Fallon Henley.
Fallon Henley's another one. I'm thinking, who's the one I'm thinking of? I can't think of her now. Fuck. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. Jada Parker.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one.
That's what we're going to say, Lola Vice.
Her too. I'm more leaning towards Jada than Lola, but it is.
So are we looking then at Stephanie and Jordan Grace for the NXT Championship?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it's going to be a big show. I don't know if they're setting up Trick versus Oba as well. I don't know if Trick is going to be leading this new Rebel faction that's down there. I don't know.
I tell you what I'm surprised by. Like, they were clearly building to something with Roxanne Perez and Bayley, and it just got dropped cold. I mean, whether it was for Stand and Deliver or WrestleMania, because I mean, Roxanne was in the Elimination Chamber, and we haven't seen her on the main roster since.
It's pretty sad.
I'm confused. I just don't understand that. I don't know what the plan was or is. I have no idea.
Well, I don't know what they're doing. Last night they said Lyra will defend the Intercontinental Championship against Bayley because she wants to be fighting champion. I don't know if they put the title on Bayley and then they revisit the Roxanne Perez feud on the main roster.
No. To me, that's clearly setting up for Liv and Raquel to defend against Bayley and Lyra. I figure Liv and Raquel get involved in the match next week.
Man, it would make more sense if it's Becky and Lyra.
No, it wouldn't. Becky hasn't been around.
I know.
You're going to bring her back with 2 weeks to go before WrestleMania?
I'm not talking about WrestleMania. I'm talking about long term. I mean, it's just that just seems
that's
so
why
forced.
They're not going to take the title of Lyra. She'll still have the Intercontinental title, but they just haven't done a good job of setting up a real challenger for her at WrestleMania. And then you had Liv pulling Raquel aside backstage last night and going, "Look, we got to talk about Bayley and Lyra," and then they cut away. So I mean, you figure out what's about to happen next week.
I'm not interested. Whatever is going to happen, I'm not interested in it. But we'll see. I'm a fan of Lyra. I just don't think they haven't really done her justice. They haven't done either one of those championships, those mid-card titles, justice.
Well, I mean, there's no real story behind them. Just come up with a great story. You just need the right two people and come up with a good story for it. Yeah, with Chelsea Green, a lot of it's just kind of like comedy fodder. She's got her, what's she calling it?
The secret
Hervis?
Hervis, yeah.
Hervis? Oh, my God.
That's definitely a Road Dogg creation. I'll tell you that right now.
It's got to be. But for Lyra on Raw, it's just a matter of, programming her with the right person and just, trying to come up with a story that people can get invested in. They just haven't done a very good job of that with those mid-card titles so far.
Not at all. Speaking of programming with the right people, we'll get into this one. WWE is beginning now to induct classic matches into the WWE Hall of Fame, and they are starting off with one of the greatest pro wrestling matches that you and I will ever see, even after we have been long off this earth. I don't think anything is going to really top this match.
The greatest.
The greatest.
The greatest. Look, everyone's going to have their idea for what the greatest match is. It's a subjective thing. You ask 10 different people, they're going to give you 10 different answers. But the more I think about it, that to me is the greatest match in WWE history. When you think of the quality of the match itself, first of all, that's number one. Number two, it was a personal issue between Bret and Austin. So it's not like it was a match that was sort of just manufactured out of nothing. I mean, you had this bad blood that existed between the two of them. But then that iconic shot that we talked earlier about blood, right? And how much blood can add to a match or an angle when it's done right. That was during a time where you weren't allowed to bleed in WWE. I mean, Bret has said, like, the only two people that knew they were going to get blood in that match were Bret and Steve. He was just on Ariel Helwani's show today talking about this because he asked him about the match. They didn't tell anybody else. When they got back through the curtain, they were pretending to be angry with each other. They were arguing. They weren't really arguing, but they just wanted to take the heat off themselves, as if it were like an accident. And Chief Jay Strongbow comes over and has to like pull them away from each other. They knew it was bullshit, but they just didn't want to get any heat for it. But how much did the blood and that iconic shot, right? The blood coming down Austin's face. He passes out in the sharpshooter, and the greatest double turn in wrestling history, even though it was kind of already happening. I would say it solidified the turn, between the two of them. And then what did it do for Austin? Everybody talks about the Austin 316 speech. That happened almost a year earlier. And he was in the same spot for many months after that. Without this match and what Bret, even though Bret won, what Bret did for him in this match, this is what ultimately really created Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
So like the significance of this match, you roll it all up into a ball. And that's why I say I think it's the greatest match that we've ever seen in the history of this company.
Would you go on to say this was one of the more natural, I guess, double turns in WWE history? Because with Austin and the way he came out of that, the way that he has said in the past that without Bret, he's not where he was in WWE, I find that to be 100% true. We listen, me and you, I know you probably are the biggest Bret Hart fan that I know. Bret's definitely in my top three. I love Bret. My brother loved Bret. We always looked at Bret and admired Bret. But the heel turn, the evil Bret, the anti-American, that was my favorite Bret ever. You know, a lot of people were like, he can't work a heel style. He's too vanilla as a babyface. Look at what Austin did and look at what Bret transformed into after that match. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better fucking heel turn for Bret Hart. I mean, that really took Bret to the next level. And I honestly think he operated at that time frame better than he's ever had previously before that.
Oh, it was great. The whole like US versus Canada angle. You know, we got the Hart Foundation where I always love that Raw segment where he reunited with Owen and Bulldog.
Yeah.
And if you remember when they hugged,
yeah,
and they got that camera shot, and Bret is just, he's looking at the fans, and like Owen is crying and Bulldog is crying, and Bret has this like mischievous look on his face, like I got one over on all of you, and I got some backup now. So like everything about that was just so great. It led to the 10-man tag at Canadian Stampede, another one of the greatest matches in company history.
Yep.
But I love the stories behind some of these matches. And again, to hear Bret tell it, like, dude, that match wasn't even supposed to happen. Like they put everything into their first match at Survivor Series when Bret came back. They had that great match at Madison Square Garden. And that was supposed to be it. And Bret figured he was wrestling Shawn at WrestleMania. They were going to have a rematch. And then Shawn, of course, he lost his smile. And so he relinquished the title. It threw everything into chaos. And they told Bret, like, you're going to work with Steve. And he's like, look, I love Steve. But it's like, his reaction was like, we did everything that there is to do in the match that we had at the Garden. Like, what the? And then they made it a submission match on top of that. And Austin had like maybe one submission hold, which was like the $1 million dream. It's not like he was a submission guy. And Bret's like, we got to the building that day in Chicago and we're by the ring and we're like, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. I have no idea. The only thing they were told is that you guys are allowed to brawl into the crowd, which again is something you didn't see a lot of back then. They were like, all right, there'll be security with you. Shamrock will be there. So he'll make sure nobody fucks with you. Otherwise, you guys do whatever you want. It's all up to you. And so during the day, they pieced the match together. Think about that. Like one of, if not the greatest match in the history of this company. And they just they had no idea what they were going to do. They literally pieced it together the day of.
That's great. That's how great Bret was. I mean, I'm just listening to you speak here. 96 Survivor Series, Madison Square Garden. We got that. That's old school classic Bret. Then we get the Royal Rumble, one of the best Royal Rumble endings to me in the history of the Royal Rumble. Austin wins and Bret fucking throws a fit, which leads to this match. It's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know if you could really conjure up a sequence to sequence to sequence type of build for two guys in company history that led from one to the next to the next. I mean, it's just, man, it makes me miss those days so much. Honestly,
it put him on the map. It put Austin on the map because he really was. He was floundering before that, and when he finally started calling Bret out on TV in '96, right? Bret wasn't even back yet. Remember famous promo like if you put the letter S in front of Hitman, you have my exact thoughts about Bret. What a fucking great line!
That's fucking awesome.
But he was calling him out every single week, and like he hadn't worked with anybody on that level up to that point. But Bret was a main event guy, so like that's what I mean. Like it elevated Austin to a level that he wasn't at, and look at what he went on to become. Like legitimately one of the biggest stars in the history of the business. I don't know if it happens or happens as quickly as it does if it wasn't for that feud and that match with Bret. And here we are now talking about it being the first match inducted into their Hall of Fame. So it's just funny how it all came together like that. And Bret now becomes the first ever 3-time WWE Hall of Famer.
Well, there's no better person to accept that type of honor than Bret. I do have one more question for you. Let's get into this here. We got right now Triple H leading the class. Natural disasters, Lex Luger, Michelle McCool, that's the Hall of Fame as of right now. I don't know if there'll be any others. Obviously, this match is going in.
I don't know. Kamala's been talked about.
Yeah, Kamala's been talked about. I don't know if they're going to add a second match or if this is going to be the only match. I think this will be the only match. But UFC actually began inducting classic matches into their Hall of Fame as part of a reboot in 2015. If you guys are wondering why this is a thing now, UFC has done this in 2015. This reboot, which took place during UFC's annual International Fight Week in Las Vegas, coincidentally, introduced 4 distinct categories or wings to the Hall of Fame: Pioneers, Modern, Contributors, and Fight. The Fight wing was specifically created to recognize the greatest, most memorable, and historical significant fights in UFC history. The first fight inducted into the Fight wing was the iconic match between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar from the final of The Ultimate Fighter Season 1, which occurred on April 9th, 2005. This match was officially honored at the Hall of Fame ceremony on July 9th in 2015, and the decision to include classic fights stemmed from a desire to celebrate the moments that shaped the UFC and the sport of mixed martial arts into what it is today. This fight in particular, the Griffin and Bonnar fight, is widely credited with boosting UFC's popularity, drawing millions of viewers, and helped to propel MMA into the mainstream due to its dramatic back-and-forth action and exposure provided by the reality TV show, The Ultimate Fighter. So you can see why WWE is doing this. I think it's a great idea, even though some people look down on the Hall of Fame. Like Jason discussed and I discussed, this match has basically shaped both men's careers. One of the greatest matches in company history, if not the greatest, maybe the greatest WrestleMania match ever. I mean, it's definitely a topic for debate. I mean, you talk Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, that's mine personally at WrestleMania 25. But if you brought this to me and said this was your favorite, I'm not going to argue with you at all.
And I'll just say this too.
Yeah.
Like, I have no doubt in my mind that if Hulk Hogan wasn't such a fuck up,
Yeah.
the first match inducted would have been Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Which deserves to be recognized. I mean, whether you want to, comment on the quality of the match itself. I mean, just what that match represented in the slam and everything else. I mean, that was just an iconic match. And I really think that would have been the first one. That would have been the first match inducted. But we saw the reaction Hogan got in Los Angeles a couple of months ago. I really don't think that they had any interest in doing anything with him tied into the ceremony or putting him in a match and running the risk of it, being kind of blowing up in their face. So otherwise, I think that probably would have been the first match, honestly, that would have been inducted.
I agree with you there. We'll get to Hogan in a little bit. But the question I had for you, Jason, is I know a lot of people, I have tended to think that the start of the Attitude Era was the moments where we got Shawn Michaels hitting The Undertaker accidentally with the steel chair at the 1997 SummerSlam, where he was the special guest referee between Bret and The Undertaker. I always said for years that was the start, the unofficial start of the Attitude Era. Obviously what led into Hell in a Cell and then, the great feud that was Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Would you say that this match, obviously it was very early into the transformation of what WWE was going for, new generation, and then going into the Attitude Era. Do you think this Bret Austin match is the true unofficial start of the Attitude Era?
I look at what happened the week before. I think it was that segment on Raw after the cage match where Bret shoved Vince on his ass and he went on that expletive-filled rant.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, that was the first, holy shit. That was a shocking moment. And it was filled with attitude from everybody, from Bret, and then Sid comes out, and then Undertaker. Everyone's pissed off at each other. But it was a shocking moment with the language that was used and everything. I go back, at least I go back that far. And you might be able to make an argument that maybe even there were other moments. I mean, you could take it all the way back to the end of 95 and that little glimpse of, we got Diesel, when he went heel, but he was like, hey, if you're wearing a black glove, I'll smack your hand. And if not, then, piss off. I was always like, if we would have gotten that Diesel as a champion, man, he would have done, I think, quite a bit better than he did.
That was a great match with Bret at Survivor Series. That was a great Diesel.
Yeah. But that was still it was just moments.
Yeah.
I look at that moment in the cage, after the cage match, right before that WrestleMania. To me, that's where it really kicked off.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I could see that being the case.
Yeah, I think I'm almost positive that was whatever 6 days before that WrestleMania.
I was in bed the other night and I was watching WWE Vault and I landed on the 4-way match with The Undertaker, Bret, Austin, and Vader. For the final, that was what a fucking match. That was the best Vader match in WWE, bar none.
You're talking about blood. Poor Vader. I mean, he got busted. What was it, like 3 minutes into the match?
He killed himself for that match. That was such a great match. Those In Your House shows were fucking phenomenal, man. There was just some gems on. Largely, they were awful shows, but man, there was a couple of gems in the history of In Your House. Some of the best matches in company history came from those shows.
Yeah, and not a lot of matches. I mean, maybe they would have like 4 or 5 because they were 2-hour shows.
Yeah.
People forget they were only 2 hours. And that match, I think the plan was to do a 4-way no matter what, but Shawn would have been involved. It would have been very different. Him relinquishing the belt, it threw everything into chaos. So like Bret won the belt and then he lost it the next night. The match itself, though, it was unique because you could eliminate people by pin, submission, or Royal Rumble style. So that kind of made it unique. Otherwise, it was just one big free-for-all for 30 minutes. And it was a great match. It was a great match. And again, Vader's bleeding like a hog, and he's got that mask on. I'm like, take the freaking mask off. Dude. He looked like he could barely see.
And Austin was the only one eliminated with that stupid over-the-top rope rule.
Yes. Yeah. I thought he injured his knee. I remember watching that. I'm like, oh, man, did he get hurt? And he did get hurt. Not in that match, though. He got hurt the next night. Funny enough, in the angle when he came out and bopped Bret on the head with the chair to cost him the belt, he hyperextended his knee. That was another thing going into that match. Austin hurt his knee, so he was kind of hobbling around going into that. It's like everything was working against that match, and the fact that it turned out to be as great as it was, it's just a great story.
Shamrock, obviously a part of that match. He was the special referee for the Bret Austin submission match at 13. Shamrock was in the news. Meltzer, our favorite Dave Meltzer, reported that while not yet announced, Shamrock's name has been talked about as well as a potential Hall of Fame inductee. Shamrock previously spoke on Chris Van Vliet's podcast and what it would mean for him to be inducted. He says, obviously, any athlete that goes through a career and has made an impact wants to be recognized, and I do want to be recognized, but I don't think of it until it's brought up. It's not something that I dwell on because I felt like everything that I've done in my life, I've been blessed to have those moments. What comes after that is just icing on the cake. It's a great way to look at it. And after that happens, it's going to be a true thrill. But like I said, it's not something that I lose sleep over. I've really enjoyed my journey and very happy with the way my life has turned out. You would think, Jason, that with this match being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I would think Shamrock is going to be at WrestleCon. I believe he is, and he's going to be in Vegas. Does he get a Hall of Fame inductee via this match as well? Does he get brought up on stage or no?
No, I mean, I think he. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it format-wise. If they're going to, because Bret's going to be there and Austin's going to be there.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do an actual like induction and they come up and give a speech together, somebody will have to do the induction. I think Shamrock would make sense. And I just feel like the class itself, it's pretty much full at this point, especially if they end up putting Kamala in as well. So I don't see Shamrock getting like a solo induction this year, but I could see him being the one to kind of do the induction or present whatever the award is to Bret and Steve so that he could be sort of a part of it with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I love Triple H, but I wasn't really excited to watch the Hall of Fame just for this, to hear Austin potentially speak and Bret potentially speak. I will definitely go out of my way to watch the Hall of Fame now that this is being inducted. Speaking of Bret was in the news literally before.
I just have to say one thing.
Yeah.
They were airing the video package last night. It ended up being a video package for Triple H where they were showing highlights of the match he had with Cactus Jack at the Royal Rumble. And I'm watching this and there were a couple of other people who thought the same thing, you know, in retrospect, looking back, it's like, are they inducting like his match into this Hall of Fame as well? Like, is he going to be the first ever person to go into the Hall of Fame and get like 2 rings for the same induction ceremony? Like, that won't piss people off. Like, Triple H is going to get his solo induction, and we'll put one of his matches in as well. So he'll get like 2 honors instead of 1.
You know, I actually thought that was good. I thought they were going to do that match on top of Bret Austin, and I thought that was going to be the case as well.
You can't do that. I mean, come on. You can't do that. Yeah, we'll put Triple H in twice in the same year. Yeah, that won't.
That's ridiculous. He already got enough flack for going into the Hall of Fame as the head of the class. It's like, Guys, he's not going in as fucking chief content officer. Like, he's not going into the Hall of Fame anyway. What the fuck are you complaining about?
Triple H is going to, please. I mean, you know how many times he'll end up being inducted? He's already in with DX, right? He's probably going to go in with Evolution one day. He's going in now as a solo inductee. They may put him in as, in like his corporate position one day because he was the head of NXT for all those years. And then he'll have a couple of matches that go in. He'll have so many fucking rings. Like, he'll have rings like Brady, where he'll have like rings on almost every finger. But by the time it's all said and done,
like fucking Thanos.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. He'll have to top Thanos.
Yeah, I know. But speaking of Bret, he was actually interviewed on the Ariel Helwani show, and this started making the news feeds just an hour or so before Jason and I went live here with TNT. Bret had some things to say about our favorite Vince McMahon. He acknowledged McMahon's undeniable creative impact, but balanced it with sharp criticism of his leadership methods. And he says this, and I quote, "I feel that as great as he was, as great as far as his ideas and imagination, and in a lot of ways there's nobody like him," he recognized McMahon's contributions to pro wrestling. He said, however, he quickly countered this with this. He says, and I quote, "At the same time, I feel like that he governed things in a shady way. I'll feel that he didn't care necessarily about the craft." And then he went on to go say this. "I always thought about the fact and what he did for me. I like to think I was his greatest artist, and in the end, I was just another, get rid of him, boom, he's done." Hart then went on to say he believes McMahon's influence had a downside. "I think as much greatness as Vince brought to wrestling, he also brought a lot of negative, kind of corrupted thinking into it." And he went on to say, "It's kind of hard to explain. I think there's a little more integrity right now." He observes the product in a different way, suggesting that potential changes right now are key. "The guys that are being pushed because they're talented and not because they are Vince McMahon's favorites." So he had to say that about the current WWE product, which Bret is never one to mince his words. He was asked about AEW. He did say, Jason, "I find that they are mostly actors trying to pretend to be pro wrestlers." He says, I watch certain guys and I try to watch the pay-per-views. However, after his viewing often comes his critique. He says, "I find that wrestlers are more actors pretending to be wrestlers today than actual wrestlers. I miss the ruggedness of the characters like Kurt Hennig and myself or Dynamite Kid. We were from that Holy Race era, Terry Funk kind of generation. I still think the 90s was the best era of pro wrestling." Now, people, foolishly clipped the one part where he said, that they're actors and they left out that second part. But, Bret is a 90s guy, 80s, 90s guy. Obviously, he loves that time period. He loves that ruggedness. He loves the fucking, the way it was back in the day. They left out that entire piece. It wasn't anything negative that he said. I actually do agree with him. I do miss certain aspects of the 90s that he was a part of, and I feel like we're not getting that in today's generation. What'd you make of his comments, Jason, if you thought anything at all?
There's a difference. Like, if you grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and 90s, and you compare it to today, like you could tell, like it's different. It's there. Like when he mentions like the ruggedness of it, and obviously back in like the 80s, it was the land of the giants in WWE.
Yeah.
That's just how it was back then. The physiques and everything, everybody was just bigger, and there was such an emphasis on that sort of stuff. And then into the 90s, you had a lot of guys like Bret and Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall. I mean, you can go down the list. And wrestling was just different. Now it's more of a television show than it was back then. I mean, it's always been a TV show, but it feels like more of a television show now. So when he says like in AEW, it feels like they're more like actors instead of wrestlers. Give me the wrestling. And I'm like, really? Because like when I watch WWE and I have to listen to people every single week use words like cinema to describe like some of these segments. Aura, cinema. My God, that 35-minute Bloodline promo was cinema. Feels like we get more acting on those shows than we do actual wrestling. If think about it, like we had 4 matches on Raw last night.
Yeah.
And the 2 best segments were the non-wrestling matches. But on a lot of these WWE shows, that's the case. Look at the Triple H PLEs, right? They usually don't go longer than 5 matches?
Yeah.
You get a hell of a lot more wrestling than that on these AEW pay-per-views. You probably get too much wrestling sometimes. So it's just, I can understand where he's coming from when he says that wrestling in general we can go through pros and cons, but it's not what it was back then. I agree with him. I mean, he's like 90s were the best decade. It's 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, take your pick. 80s wrestling. To me, 80s wrestling is like the standard. But the 90s were pretty fucking great too.
He went on to say, I find that today's wrestling, it's a little bit more about promos and your character on TV and not so much your work rate. He did, however, single out one current top star for praise. I like guys that throw back a little bit more to the work rate, like Roman Reigns is the guy, for example, that I think tries really hard to earn the respect of my generation and be more realistic and more credible, more believable, and not so much an actor. It's funny that he says that, not so much an actor, where we usually see Roman, acting and promo-wise more than we see him actually in ring.
Yeah, I'm surprised because Bret has had some not so complimentary things to say about Gunther in the past. And I kind of feel like he's the sort of guy Bret would love.
Yeah.
Although I know Bret hates like the chops. So maybe that's why he maybe doesn't like Gunther so much. Like he's been very open about like when he worked with Flair, he would tell Flair, like, you're limited to like 1 or 2 chops in our match. Like that's it. We're not doing more than that. So maybe it stems from that. I look at Gunther as like a throwback in many ways. I would think Bret would love the guy, but he's had some not so complimentary things in the past to say about him.
Have you caught up with LFG yet? Gunther was on this week's show.
I have not been watching the full episodes, but I did see some of like the clips, and there was one clip where he was kind of gathered with the coaches at ringside, and Undertaker was putting, I forgot who it was. He was putting one of the guys over. Oh no, it was Tyra. Is that her name? She's the Olympian?
Tyra May Still, yeah.
Yeah, so he was I think putting her over, and Gunther made a comment. He actually kind of like pushed back on the Undertaker and said, I'm surprised. I'm kind of disappointed. Like she's on your team, and yeah, they're not. They don't seem motivated enough. And then Undertaker was like, he was ready to throw hands with this guy, but then he realized, like, he kind of respects him for saying that. So like, Gunther wasn't afraid to like throw it back in Undertaker's face and say, hey, this person's on your team, and I wasn't impressed. Like these people don't seem motivated enough. He'll make a great coach one day when he's ready to hang it up.
That's what I thought too. I mean, it's funny. Undertaker has had nothing but praise on Gunther. He loves Gunther, but
he's his guy. He says, that's my guy.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They would have had a great match. Oh,
Undertaker in his prime gets going. Oh my God, man, that is a dream match beyond dream matches.
All the stiffs they put with Undertaker over the years to try to get those guys over. Yeah. Imagine if they would have had him and Gunther in the ring together.
Oof, that would have been one hell of a WrestleMania streak match. Speaking of WrestleMania, we go from the great to the pathetic. Hulk Hogan, our favorite Hulk Hogan, Jason's favorite Hulk Hogan in the news here. Family dynamic, family broken here. Linda Hogan calls Hulk a liar, a sex addict. Says she hasn't spoken to Brooke, her daughter, in 8 years. She goes on Instagram via Instagram stories and says this, and I quote, I've given more opportunities for him to come back and make up with the family. She said of Hulk, whom she married between 1983 and 2009. It's been 20 years and I'm still sad. Someone please explain that. I do love living alone. I don't ever want to be married again after him, trust me. Linda also said Hulk does not have a relationship with Brooke or their son Nick, who's 34 years old. We mean nothing to him. She said also stating that she had to be honest about what I went through in my marriage with her ex. He's a complete liar, a sex addict. Yet he marches on like, oh, I'm promoting my own beer. Look at me. Linda said of his beer brand, Real American Beer. Of her estrangement with her daughter Linda, said to or about Brooke, she doesn't talk to us. She did not inform them that she had gotten married to her partner, former professional hockey player Stephen Oleski, in 2022, and has welcomed now twins. Linda claimed Brooke stopped speaking to them after she got into a fight with her father 8 years ago. I don't know how that reflected onto me, but she cut me out too. Brooke, for her part, has since responded to the claims in her own Instagram statement. I have completely separate reasons for going no contact with each of my parents. No contact with my mom has nothing to do with my dad, and no contact with my father has nothing to do with my mother. What I'm about to say is not pointed at either person. It's my own personal truth. Brooke went on to share that she was extremely verbal and mentally abused during her childhood, and it would frequently turn physical. Cycles must be broken. At this point, my husband, my children, and my relationship with God is my priority. There have been more than enough chances to reprieve given. It has to stop, and it ends now. She went on to say that her mother made false claims, that she has seen her in the 8 years, and she goes on and on. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but Hulk, Jason, he went on social media in what I now believe is a deleted tweet where he's with his current wife, and it's like a split screen, and he's eating a bucket of popcorn as you see the clip of Linda, who looks fucking awful in this Instagram story, and he's just throwing popcorn in his face, and he's making this weird fucking comical face. I put his face in the thumbnail if you guys want to go see what I'm talking about. So this landed this week in the land of Hulk Hogan, and it didn't stop there. George Foreman, unfortunately, has passed on, and Hulk Hogan, the whole story with the George Foreman Grill, the people who were behind the George Foreman Grill. The YouTube channel Pablo Torre finds out, investigated Hogan's story by contacting Michael Bohm, the inventor of the grill. His family sent a message to Torre about Hogan's story. He says, George Foreman was the only celebrity our dad approached about endorsing the grill. We don't know who started the story about Hulk Hogan being approached, but it is inaccurate.
Oh, yeah. We don't know who started the story. We have no idea who it was.
He went on to say that he spoke with the lawyer who represented both Hogan and George Foreman at the time, and the lawyer stated that the story is not of my recollection. The agent Hulk Hogan cited was a guy named Sam, it turns out. The agent that rep both Hulk Hogan and George Foreman. Unfortunately, Sam also passed away. This was last fall, but they shared a lawyer. And the lawyer is a guy named Henry Holmes. And that lawyer, Henry Holmes, told us also that Hulk Hogan's story is not my recollection. In fact, what he said was that it was two other celebrities sharing representation that their agent was asking about, end quote. Obviously, on top of everything that happened with Hulk Hogan, we talked about him in previous weeks here on TNT. He was being sued for some event where some lady was hit in the head with a beer can. Obviously, he got booed out of Los Angeles on Monday Night Raw, January 6th. And his meet and greet, or his suite at the Hulkster suite at WrestleMania, went for $9,500. It's down to like $5,500, $6,000. They slashed it like a third. It's not a good look.
He made little kids cry too. Don't forget.
He made the little kids cry waiting in line for autographs. It's not good to be the Hulkster, Jason. I mean, when it rains, it pours. But as far as the family stuff, not to get too personal here, I know Jason knows a little bit about what I deal with my parents. It is very difficult, and this is the real JD coming out now. It's very difficult to deal with the ramifications of the actions of your parents. Both of my parents are not well due to their drinking problem, and both have been incarcerated several times over the past several years, and right now, currently, they're both incarcerated now. My mom's in jail. My dad's in jail for their drinking problems. They have a restraining order or a protection order. My dad can't see my mom for more than a year. It's bad, and it's tough to pull yourself out of that situation when all you want to do is help. And me and my brothers have tried for years to try and get my mom help. She doesn't want it. If she doesn't want help, there's nobody that's going to help her. We can't do it. To pull myself out of that family situation, Jason, it's very difficult. It's very heartbreaking to do because all you want to do is help them. And I feel for Brooke, and I see where she's coming from, and she wants to focus on her husband, her children, and what is important in her life to bring herself peace. So I'm actually envious that she's found a way to do that because I'm still struggling to do that now myself, and I don't know how to do that. But just reading her Instagram story to see what she's gone through, I feel for that because I'm going through the same thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you only get one mom and one dad, right? You don't get to pick your parents. So ideally, you would be able to get along with them and you would be able to welcome them into your life when you start a family and you have kids. I don't think anybody wishes for anything else, but not everybody gets along with their parents. And sometimes there are issues that drive families apart. And in her case, in Brooke's case, she recognizes that both of her parents, for different reasons, are, basket cases and or are not going to be a good influence on her or potentially on her kids. And she has little kids now, and she doesn't want this drama in her life. She doesn't want it to be reflected on her family and her kids. And I say good for her. Now, I can't speak to the abuse that she alleges. That obviously sounds awful. And she did a lot in her statement to not throw people under the bus. Obviously, her mom didn't take it that way because then her mom fired back on Facebook and had all these horrible things to say about her. It reminded me a lot of the Vicky Guerrero stuff from a couple of years ago when there were some things that one of her daughters alleged her stepfather did to her. And Vicky's response to this was to attack her daughter, publicly on social media, just fire right back. And a lot of the things that she said in her statement about her daughter, exact same thing that Linda said about her daughter here, which honestly, if you're trying to mend fences and you want to see your grandkids, probably isn't the wisest move to make on her part, but it's just a reflection on the kind of people that they are. So it's a terrible situation, but I applaud her for, having the wherewithal to say, you know what, I don't need this. And my kids don't need this. And I still love these people. They're still my parents, but life goes on, and I don't need these negative influences in my life. So I have to take a stand and have no contact with either one of them.
Yeah, it's tough. I commend her for finding peace. I think that's great. I'm really trying to find myself peace with everything that's going on here with my parents. But cycling back to the George Foreman stuff, how does it make Hogan feel? Like all his lies just kind of being exposed. Like you see that in the news, and he said that whatever he said about the George Forman Grill years ago, and now this guy comes out and says that. I have no recollection of that. How does it make Hulk Hogan look? I mean, he's got to make him look like a fucking idiot if he even cares at all.
Look, he's looked like a fucking idiot telling these lies and exaggerations for his whole friggin' life. But I think like he's always in work mode, and it's hard to know where Hulk ends and Terry begins. And I feel like he's been doing this his entire career. And back in the day, you didn't have social media. People didn't have instant access to information in the way that they do today. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's all caught up to him, because now this information spreads. I mean, everyone jokes about the Hogan fables and the Hogan lies. And then these people hear about this, the directors of movies that he claimed, I was going to be the star. They wanted me to be the star, but I turned it down. And then the director hears about it and is like, that didn't happen. Friggin' Lars Ulrich. He's like, I have no idea. Hulk Hogan and Metallica. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, so it's good. I wish more people would expose him for telling these bullshit lies. I mean, they're entertaining. I'll say that, but like he can't help himself. It's just lie after lie after lie, even about things that he doesn't have to lie about. And it's too bad, because you think about the career that he's had, and like he had a book that came out many years ago. I think like over 20 years ago, his first book came out. And I think he's had more than one book since then. He has led the kind of life and career that would be genuinely interesting to read about in his own words, but I can't trust a word that comes out of the guy's mouth. And I just assume that every story he tells and everything he says, or at least 95% of it, is either exaggerated or just complete bullshit. It's like Vince McMahon, another one, who, if you think about the life that he's led, would be pretty interesting to read about. Would I actually trust his version of events and trust that these things happened, or that his recollection would be the best? No.
Not a chance.
Not a chance, not a prayer. So this has been Hogan's MO, for a very long time. I mean, dude, we were talking about the Undertaker story a few weeks ago from Survivor Series 91.
That was hilarious.
Okay, so I think Hogan's had 2 books, and like literally in each book, he has different versions of the same story. In one version, he didn't drop me on my head. He just kind of jammed my neck, but like my head never hit. In the next book, he dropped me on my head. So which is it? Even when he tells the stories, he can't keep his own lies straight. And then you wonder why people mock him for it, and they just, look at him as a joke.
What was it? He was supposed to be the bass player for Metallica?
I think he auditioned to be bass player for Metallica, was one of them, and the band members have no recollection of this whatsoever.
I watched so many Metallica documentaries. I never once seen Hulk Hogan fucking audition for Metallica.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, because he was in a band when he was younger. Like, that's true. But like, no, he was not going to be the bass player for Metallica. He was going to be Randy the Ram in the movie The Wrestler, or like the role was made for him.
Well, at least that's a believable lie. I could see. No,
it's not, because even the director came out and said that's bullshit. It never happened.
Well,
nothing he says is a believable.
Well, good thing he didn't end up being Randy the Ram. That's all I got to say. The movie was great.
Yeah, because he's such a great actor, this guy. So, I mean, and then you have the stories like of him. One year I worked 450 days traveling between, the US and Japan because of the time zone difference. So I actually worked 400 days in a year, which of course is ridiculous. And it's like on and on and on. But the Forman Grill one is just like when you have the family of the inventor, like of the grill maker, have to come out and say, look, we have no idea where this story started. I mean, as if we don't know. But like, there was no other celebrity that our father even considered for this product except for George Foreman. But Hogan has, again, and the story's changed a little bit each time he tells it. But it's like, oh, my kids got sick of me showing up late to pick them up at school. So I was going to get there early this day. And I went to McDonald's and I bought hamburgers and French fries. And I had everything in the car ready for them when they got to the car. And I'm there. I'm beating all the soccer moms to get there early. And then it just so happened that was the day my agent called me or my lawyer called me about this product. We have this great grill. Like it could go to you or George. And I wasn't home, brother. And so they gave it to George. And George made, a gazillion dollars, endorsing this grill. In other versions of the story, he went to pick up his kids. He had candy waiting for them in the car. And they offered him a meatball maker and he picked the meatball. I mean, it's just like, dude, I can't even keep it all straight. It's so ridiculous. Maybe one of the best ones, though. I have to mention this. Have you heard the Hulkster in Heaven?
No, no, I have not.
Okay. So Hogan had an album that came out many years ago, like in the mid-90s. And he did this song called Hulkster in Heaven, which was dedicated to a young child, I think had cancer and passed away. And of course, he was a Hulkamaniac. And I think it's tied into this, but like he's told the story before about like meeting this kid who was sick and, getting them tickets to SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium. And when he went out there and he was in the ring, he looked over at where the kid was supposed to be and the kid wasn't there. And at that moment, he knew that kid had passed away. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember Hulk Hogan being on the card at Wembley Stadium for SummerSlam in 1992? Because I don't.
No, he was not on the show, no.
Is there another Wembley show that I'm unaware of that happened that
year? You gotta be kidding me. This is a real fucking story?
It's a real story. I mean, the details may be a little shaky, but you can look it up after. That's the basic premise. That's the basic story. It's just, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is who he is.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Listen, it is what it is with the Hulkster, man. He makes for good comedy fodder.
Actually, you know what? There's an even better one. Like Elvis. Elvis used to be a wrestling fan. That is true. And I think he was a fan of Jerry Lawler. And he was actually potentially going to do a wrestling angle. And then he passed away. So he never really got involved with it. But Hogan has also, I think in his book, told the story about how Elvis, he used to love coming to, maybe it was the Mid-South Coliseum, and sitting like maybe up in the rafters or wherever where people couldn't see him because he wanted to come see the Hulkster. Even though Hogan wasn't working the territory at the time that Elvis would have potentially come to see. I think Elvis had already died. But somehow Elvis was such a big Hulk Hogan fan that he came to the shows to see Hulk, even though he was dead.
The spirit of Elvis came to watch Hulk Hogan wrestle.
The corpse of Elvis, maybe the honky tonk man snuck in. He mistook him for Elvis. I mean, it's like, oh my God.
Oh my God, man.
Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy.
That's classic, man. Listen, it is what it is. We use it as source material here just to get a fucking laugh. So that made it all worthwhile there, man. Just to get those stories out of Jason. It is what it is, man. Let's check the chat. We got 2,900 people in here right now. Super chats are open. They will remain open. Jason and I will sit with you at the end of the show. We got 763 likes. I want to welcome everybody coming in from NXT. We would love to get that to 1,000 likes. We've hit the goal every single week, so let's try and get 1,000 likes here on episode 89. We're going to get into some AEW talk, but just one more WWE news and note here. Contract news. Karrion Kross coming up on a contract here. This is coming from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. And he's confirmed that Karrion Kross is in a contract year with WWE. They've heard that his deal is currently set to expire in the summer, but are working to confirm additional information on this news. We have not heard yet, they say, if he's actively negotiating a new deal. Those that we've spoken to in WWE as of late have been ecstatic about Cross's ability to get himself over with social media and the angles he's been in on Raw. Him and his wife, Scarlett, were released in November 2021. They were immediately rehired by Triple H, who gained power after Vince McMahon's first exit in 2022, says Sapp. Cross was offered a one-off match in AEW during his absence. He passed on that, and Sapp says he has not heard of further talks between AEW and Cross. Cross was actually interviewed with Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez, and he said this, very cryptic. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for tuning in to watch me. Thank you for all the love online, even though I'm a bad guy. I think it's okay to love the bad guys every once in a while. He goes on to say, just know, and that I want you to see me out of this interview. I'm trying to work in a place where I can give everything to you, all the things we're talking about, even evil Father Cross with the face paint, Killer Cross, which I get a lot. You guys want to see that resurgence of everything that I did in NXT. Just know that I'm always talking too creative. I'm always trying to find the best common ground between what they want and what you want. He goes on to stress that he is primarily focused on television right now and entertaining the audience. I literally don't do anything for myself on TV at all. I literally do it all for you guys to try and make the segments as best as possible. Everything I'm doing, even move for move, is to make sure you guys get the most out of what you are watching. I appreciate you all sincerely. I really do. Without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. You know, we had a super chat coming here, Jason, towards, I would say, the last 5 minutes or so. It came in from Zero Kaiba, 35 months here. Thank you, Zero Kaiba. He says, JD and Jason, I've been recently thinking about carrying Cross and how I feel WWE's fumbled him so far. Do you guys agree he deserves a push after WrestleMania? I am going to leave that up to you, man. I think he is going to stay with WWE. I think Triple H loves him. I think if he goes to AEW, it's a mistake, and he gets lost in a sea of just a huge bloated roster. Though I do think that his creativity would probably be more open, because I do think that we haven't seen enough of him creatively on WWE, and I don't know what they're waiting for, if they're waiting for the right time to do it. But I do think he ultimately comes back. I think he is a big proponent of what Triple H wants to do on TV.
I mean, I think there was a reason why the other members of the Final Testament were let go and not him. So, I mean, I agree. I think Triple H is the one who brought him back.
Yeah.
So clearly he likes the guy, and I think he recognizes that he has something to offer. It's just it just hasn't happened yet where he found that right role. And what he's been doing lately is more interesting than anything else he's been doing on TV. It's kind of an interesting character that he plays. They just have to find a focus and get him, involved in an actual program. Because the last actual program, I mean, yeah, they did the stuff with the Wyatt Six, but I'm trying to think, like, before that, I still think all the way back to the Drew McIntyre stuff. And at this point, how long ago was that? That was what?
That was when he first came back. He attacked. Who did he attack? Did he attack Roman? He was kind of making a push towards the world title already, right?
It was on SmackDown. Yeah. I think it was like the end of SmackDown. Yeah. So we're going back 2 or 3 years, and he had a program with Drew. I think they had a cage match. So I couldn't tell you after that what the next big feud or program was that he really had that really made an impact. So if they could just find a focus for him and let him, we've seen him speak more in these promos. It's not always just like cryptic stuff, but just, I feel like, be more himself. I do feel like there's a very good opportunity there for him to get over and show a side of him that we just haven't been able to see so far. Because he's a very intelligent guy. He's very well-spoken. I'm sure on some level he's got to be frustrated, because I'm sure he is talking to creative and people and trying to get something going. And I feel like he deserves that opportunity for as long as he's been there. I hope he gets it. It seemed like they were maybe building something with him and Sami Zayn, and then it got dropped, and Sami may have requested time off, so maybe that had something to do with it. Clearly that there's nothing happening there for WrestleMania. So coming out of Mania, I'd like to see them find something for him to really sink his teeth into, and then let's see what he can do. I've seen so many videos and promos that he posts himself on social media that are great, but we don't see that on TV.
Yeah.
So if they could find a way to take that sort of thing and incorporate that into the television show, yeah, I think he's got a shot, at getting himself over that way.
Vince brought him up to the main roster, embarrassed him, had him lose to Jeff Hardy in 90 seconds, gave him a dominatrix mask, took Scarlett away from him, took his entrance away from him. released him. He was brought back. I don't want to see this run end with fucking Final Testament, and that's all we see of Cross. And then, mix that in with what Vince did to him. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. What are they doing over there?
Well, Scarlett, too. I mean, Scarlett was actually doing wrestling before she came back to WWE. So, even Scarlett, I feel like, has more to offer as well. Maybe even just being more vocal. You don't get to hear from her very often. I've seen them post videos on their YouTube channel of her and Shotzi. And they're big, like, horror fans, and they'll go to, like, these horror parks, and they've done these paranormal type videos, like, around Halloween. And I think of those videos, and I listen to her and I watch Scarlett in those videos. But, like, again, you don't get to see her do much of anything on TV. So everything we're saying about Cross, I think you could apply the same thing to Scarlett. She also hasn't really had a chance yet to show what she can do.
Yeah, I agree. Cross would kill it on the indies. I don't know where he goes, wherever he goes, whether he stays in WWE or takes a chance on himself. I think he's going to fucking kill it. And we got Angel Alaga killing it. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
A super bomb. Angel Alaga with a $200 super chat. Here's the super bomb to the best duo in the business, also a huge cat lover. I want to send my prayers to the family of the man who died in a horrible fire on Long Island trying to save the cats he was taking care of. He lives his life as a hero and died a hero. Angel, I actually heard that yesterday from someone close to me. I did not venture even into looking at the story because that shit really hits close to home, being that I got my babies here. Yes, I did read about that, and that is a very sad story. But listen, man, I love hearing how people are doing whatever they can to stop the cat problem that we have. I've fostered several cats. It is a very arduous task. It is a very big responsibility. It gets overwhelming at times as well, but it's great to see that there are so many people doing that, man. I love to hear that the cats are being saved, and we're trying our best to find homes. But Angel, thank you so much, brother. $200 super chat is a lot of money. Jason and I greatly appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you. I don't know if you heard that story, Jason. You hear that story?
I only just heard about it actually a couple of hours ago, so it was very very sad. I think the owner died.
Yeah.
And some of the animals died.
Yeah, they're looking for fosters. I had inquired about one already from this situation, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. Moving on with the AEW part of the stream here. We have Dynasty coming up in Philadelphia on April 6th. We have only 5 matches announced so far. We will get into whatever AEW is brewing up here. On Wednesday, Jason, Dynamite was not as bad as the week before. I don't know how they could have gotten worse. But the open, we saw Speedball, Mike Bailey, Kenny Omega, and Ricochet, who is now a happily married man. Congratulations to him. He had his wedding over the last 7 days. This is going to be a banger match. I don't know why we needed Blake Christian versus Kenny Omega and wasting a Kenny Omega match on television. I get why they do it. I just don't really understand it. I would preserve Kenny Omega's appearances for when they really matter most. But this match is going to kill it. I don't know where we go from here, but I did talk about this with Jesse on Wednesday. I feel like it's too early to pin Speedball. It is a mistake to pin Ricochet, but if you held a gun to my head and asked me who would I beat here, because we all know Kenny Omega's not losing the championship in this triple threat match, the international title, I'm pinning Speedball. I don't think it's a problem in this type of match, and I honestly think that they put so much into Ricochet, I think he needs it most. I don't want to pin him, even though he's not going to walk out the champion. I need them to start building some momentum because what he's doing is working, and I want to see that kind of move on to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, him being a heel, I don't think it's a big deal. If they pin him, my guess is they will do everything they can to protect Speedball. I think it's going to be a great match. I think Ricochet takes the loss. I don't know that anybody thinks Omega's losing the championship because obviously they're building to a big, what I hope is a unification match in Texas. Yep. So that's where all roads lead. Even the Continental champion is not on this show. It's actually quite a few big names that are not even on the card. And that's okay because not everybody needs to be on the show. But I was struck by, unless that changes tomorrow, how many names, including Hangman and MJF and Okada and Mercedes right now. Like, there's a lot of people who are actually not scheduled for this show, Okada being one of them. But yeah, Kenny wins, and I think he beats Ricochet to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a great match for the International Championship. That was the open of Dynamite on Wednesday night last week. MJF, he answered MVP and did say he wants to do business with the Hurt Syndicate. But Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin came to the ring. Obviously, the most over act right now in AEW, I would say. So they had a face-off with MJF. Lashley offered his hand, asked for the business card back. Lashley takes the business card and rips up the card right in front of MJF. MJF told MVP he thought they were cool. MVP holds back Lashley and Benjamin. And that was the last we've seen of MJF for this segment. He walked out of the ring, hoping to talk to MVP about business at a later date. So Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin were not aware that MVP was courting MJF, possibly to work with the Hurt Syndicate. And then out comes Brian Keith and Big Bill, which I'm assuming they're setting up for a tag team title match at Dynasty. Chris Jericho wanted them to go make a statement and prove that whatever Jericho has taught them has worked. And clearly it's not, because they're going to get fed to the Hurt Syndicate. What do you make of this MJF and Hurt Syndicate story, Jason? Because obviously MJF is not going to join the Hurt Syndicate. At least I don't think. I think some business will be done there. But no matter how good he would look working alongside the Hurt Syndicate, I just struggle to find the finality in this storyline, because it goes one of two ways. One, this leads to MJF teaming with Lashley and Shelton against Adam Page and a returning Young Bucks, and we get a trios match out of it, or number two with MJF and Adam Page. Or we get, and this is a really, really out there scenario, we get Page teaming with Swerve. Swerve and Page team up against the Hurt Syndicate at some point, which gets Swerve his win back over Bobby Lashley from Full Gear or World's End, wherever it happened. I don't know which way they're going to go, but I don't give a shit about any of this. Just get MJF in the Owen and get him or whoever into a World Championship match at All In, because I think all the biggest guns need to be in the Owen, and I hope that Tony is really taking that criticism and applying it to this year's tournament.
I mean, if you look at what he's doing so far, I mean, clearly, certainly on the women's side,
yeah,
he is. I think, not even think, like, so far, at least on the women's side, and it looks like we're headed that way on the men's side, he is loading these two tournaments up in a way that he has not done the last few years. And we could talk about the women, but just on the men's side so far, we know Will Ospreay's declared, Hangman's declared, Jay White's declared. I'm sure MJF, will end up in that tournament. I don't know if Jeff Jarrett will sneak his way in like he did last year. It's always a possibility, but he sort of disappeared off the radar there. Yeah, I mean, I'm the one who brought that up a few weeks ago, where I thought maybe this Hurt Syndicate stuff, there was going to maybe be a loose alliance. It would be a way to reintroduce the Young Bucks to TV. They have their big episode coming up on the 16th, where they're going to set the record as the longest running, wrestling show on TNT or TBS in prime time. Maybe that's the night we see the Young Bucks back. But that's my best guess right now. It's building to a match where it'll further the issue with MJF and Hangman, but more so it'll be a way to reintroduce the Bucks. And then from there we go, into whatever happens with MJF and Hangman in the Owen, which we are going to find out tomorrow. I know they're releasing the brackets tomorrow. So I presume the Owen is kicking off right after Dynasty.
Yeah.
And they would do the finals, I guess, a double or nothing. I mean, the last 2 years, they've done the finals in Calgary at the Saddle Dome. They don't have any Calgary dates on the calendar in Canada. So I don't think they're doing that. My guess would be the finals are a double or nothing. But I love the way things are shaping up in the tournament so far. I think that this is a great correction from the way it's been the last few years, where you have some people in there where you look at it and it's like, well, what are they doing in there? Why aren't more of the big stars more vocal? Especially last year when they added the stipulation that the winners get world title matches at All In. Why wouldn't every top name want to come out on TV and declare, just like all these people are declaring themselves for the tournament?
Yeah, this is exactly how it needs to be. I commend Tony Khan for correcting that and making the tournament feel huge this year. It's the biggest the tournament's ever going to look. I know All In is July 12th, and the finals, I do believe Jason is correct. I do think the finals will take place at Double or Nothing, both for the men and the women, which then leaves enough time for them to build the challengers to the champions in some solid story going into All In. A lot of people were like, well, why are they announcing the tournament now? That's the reason. A lot of people really didn't understand what Tony was doing. I actually quite like what he's doing here. So I commend announcing the tournament and getting the brackets out there and getting people invested in what you got going on here with both the men's and the women's. And this gives Dynamite some much needed continuity and a desire to watch on a weekly basis, because you put all your top guns both on the men and women's side each week in this tournament. I mean, that's more of a reason than anything to watch this show. So I think that's a great move. The men, Jason, right now looking like Jay White, Ospreay, and Adam Page, I believe, is in the tournament. I don't know what comes of Swerve and Moxley. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm assuming MJF's going to be in there. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Jarrett's in there and we get kind of a crossing of the paths there from what we saw a couple of months ago with both of them. For the ladies, we have Billy Starks, Mercedes Mone, Thunder Rosa, Athena, Chris Statlander, and I believe there's one other I'm missing.
Jamie Hayter.
Jamie Hayter, that's correct. Yes, so 2 more announced. We'll get the full 8 tomorrow night on Dynamite. You know, the men is going to be a little bit more unpredictable. It's very difficult to look at the ladies and see anybody but Mercedes here. So it's funny that they're putting Mercedes and Athena in the tournament. A lot of people were thinking that it may be a one-on-one match for the titles at Dynasty, but I'm glad that they're doing it in the tournament. It gives it a little bit more of an unpredictable feel, I think.
Well, look, there's no guarantee that they will face off in the tournament, but when I heard about, first of all, we saw Athena on television this weekend, which, hallelujah, okay, this is long overdue, and it was great to see her back on one of the main shows because it's been too long. And I think we knew this was coming, given the stuff with Mercedes and Billy Starks in the last few weeks. So they had a brief confrontation. I think, Athena went for her O-face and Mercedes got out of the way. So Mercedes had already declared for the tournament, and then Athena declared. And like you said, we had 6 names, I think on Saturday alone, that were announced on the women's side. You have 2 spots left open. That could go to any number of women. You get Mariah May hasn't been seen since she lost to Toni Storm. You've got Willow Nightingale. Mariah and Willow, 2 former winners of the Owen. So both of them would make sense, or one of them would make sense. And then you still have, Julia Hart or Penelope Ford, and, who knows what happens this Sunday with Toni Storm and Megan Bayne. So they have no shortage of women that they could plug into those final 2 spots, although it probably wouldn't be Megan Bayne. So I love what they're doing on the women's side. I mean, they have a hell of a bracket there. I didn't even mention Harley Cameron as a possibility. With Athena and Mercedes, though, the way I look at it is, if you assume that they want this to be a 3-match series, which is what I would do, you match them up in the Owen. It could be the opening round. It could be that they meet in the semifinals. They go to a time limit draw. So that way you don't have to beat either woman, but you get that first match out of the way, and it gives you a taste of what's to come. Gives you a taste of what is going to come next. And from that point on, I think the ultimate destination is Texas at All In and having Athena win the championship from Mercedes. Because I disagree with the people, and I think you're in this camp, who think, well, they're going to have her break the record. So that would take Mercedes all the way to October.
Yes.
Just to break Jade Cargill's record as the longest reigning TBS champion, which I think would be ridiculous if that's the only reason they're going to keep the belt on her. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Athena is back on TV for a reason. I don't think it's she's taking a brief hiatus just to show up for a few weeks and then she'll go right back to where she was. I do think you do the first match in the tournament, go to a draw. If you want to do the second match at Supercard of Honor, you could do that. I don't know if they want to do that match on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, because they have a Ring of Honor pay-per-view on May 2nd.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. I would not want to see that. That's just lowbrow, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what other match would you put in the main event? Because, I mean, we have a match. We may as well just talk quickly about it here. Chris Jericho is defending the Ring of Honor World title against Bandito this Sunday. And it's title versus mask. And Bandito is not losing his mask. So I'm pretty sure Bandito's winning the championship this weekend. And I figure they're going to run it back one more time at Supercard of Honor. He'll beat Jericho again. No thanks to Big Bill and Brian Keith, and maybe that's where finally the disintegration of the learning tree happens. But Jericho and Bandito in a rematch, to me, Athena and Mercedes would be the much stronger match to close that show with. If you don't want to do it there, totally understand it. Save it for Double or Nothing. Mercedes wins. And then you set up for a third match in Texas, and that's where Athena wins it all. So you go one match, nobody wins. Second match, Mercedes wins. Third match, Athena wins. And then it frees up Mercedes to eventually challenge for the Women's World Championship, because she doesn't need the TBS title if she's going to go after Toni Storm or whoever the world champion is. That, to me, should be the sequence of events here.
I agree. I agree. That should be the way that it happens. Do I trust that the company's going to do that? Absolutely not.
So what do you think? I mean, you just think Mercedes is just going to win everything?
Yes, I do. They haven't really given... listen, you make a lot of sense. I agree with you. I said that much on social media. It should be at least a 3-match series with Athena winning. Jesse and I have talked about this for weeks now. We're just terrified. We're petrified that Athena is being brought up right now after being away for 2.5 years without making an appearance on the proper A show. Like, why are they bringing her up now? Is there a reason? Are they going to move her up to the main? Now, all of a sudden, after 1,000 days of Ring of Honor shit, now all of a sudden they decide to bring her up.
Texas. It's fucking She's
lame.
from Texas. I think they're building to a big moment in Texas for her. That's why I think she's up now.
I agree. I mean, it's great, but this should have happened 2 years ago. Like, I get what they're doing.
But I agree, but we can't change the past, right? Okay, she's here now. So the question is, what are they going to do with her now? And this is what I think. This is what I think they should do. But this is what I think is going to happen. I think Mercedes does win before Athena does, whether it's the first match or the second match. But then Athena will get her win back. Whether that's like winner take all and she gets the ROH belt back, which she really doesn't need once she drops it. But whatever it is, I think she gets that big win in Arlington. I think that's where everything should be building, and maybe I'm more optimistic than most, but that's where I think things are building to.
No, I
don't
agree.
think Mercedes just going to win everything forever and ever and ever, and then that's going to be the end of it.
No, I know. You can't blame people for having that fear, because we've been conditioned to fucking just look at this go on and on and on, and she's got 4 belts. I agree. I don't think they want to beat Athena. I think they want to keep that intact. With the championship and have her drop the championship. Having her relinquish the championship to forego that and take the TBS title, I think that's the right way to go about it. So if we're looking at this as your plan of action and Mercedes and Athena cancel each other out in the Owen, this almost has to set up Jamie Hayter winning the tournament to go challenge Toni Storm at All In, correct?
That's what I would do. And now's the time to start building Jamie back up. You know, she's back on TV now. Supposedly it was a visa issue. That's why she disappeared. I guess that's all worked out. And they have a few months now to build to All In and really build her back up, or try to build her back up to what she was before. And there's history there. Again, the last time she held the Women's World Championship, I'm pretty sure she lost that title to Toni Storm. So you could even play into the history. I know Toni's playing a different character now, but you could play into the history between them. Jamie's great. I don't think it would be that difficult if they put their muscle behind her to really, build her back up. So yeah, I would say the early favorite, without knowing who all the participants are, Jamie would be at the head of the pack for me. I don't see it being Athena, and I don't see it being Mercedes.
All right. Listen, this is some good stuff. This is the most intrigue that AEW has created, honestly, in several months. So what they're doing right now has a lot of hope and a lot of promise. We talked about Kenny Omega retaining the International Championship. Let's go from one championship to the next. We have Adam Cole and Danny Garcia for the TNT Championship. Pretty academic stuff here, Jason. I think Adam Cole should win the TNT Championship. I think his run has been less than stellar in AEW, especially since coming back from the injury. Danny Garcia is just there. I've mentioned this with Jesse several times over. They brought in Danny Garcia, wanted him to resign. They gave him the TNT title as a, hey, this is what we got for you, and they did nothing with him. Fucking unbelievable pro wrestler, but that's all it is. It stops there. I don't really know what they're doing with him or where he's going. I think Adam Cole needs this more than Danny Garcia. I'm going Adam Cole winning the TNT title.
Yeah, and I hope he does, because the TNT title really has never felt this insignificant to me.
Yeah.
Again, he's a fine wrestler, but there's not much else going on there right now. And I feel like he's also the kind of babyface who is better in chase mode than he is as, kind of the defending champion. So they've had 2 matches so far. The first match went to a time limit draw. The second match, I think, was marred by interference, or it went to a no contest, whatever it was. So now this match, the stipulation is no time limit and no interference allowed, which really should be the stipulation for every wrestling match if you want to be technical about it. But for this one, no interference allowed. So there should be a winner. I think it's going to be Adam Cole. I really don't see any reason for it not to be.
Yeah, Adam Cole with the win, TNT Championship coming out of Dynasty. That's what we're going with there. Megan Bayne, she will be challenging Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. Megan Bayne and Toni Storm were in the main event of Dynamite tag team match. It was Bayne and Penelope Ford against Thunder Tits or Thunderstorm, whatever they're calling themselves
Thunder
now.
Tits. No, we got to call them by their new name. It's a great name. A fantastic name.
Unbelievable, man. Toni Storm is great. This is a little jarring to see Megan Bayne in this position so early. On one hand, you want to create a new star, you ever beat Toni Storm, but on that same hand, we just seen Toni Storm in a fucking war with Mariah May, winning the championship back in Australia, getting this match with Mariah at Revolution, which was the most brutal women's match in company history. I don't really see them putting the title on Toni so quickly, especially someone like Toni, so quickly, and then having to drop it to Megan Bayne. But if they want to create a new star, they got the door open to do that right here in Philadelphia. I just don't think that they're going to do that. So, it brings me to my other hand. It's like, why are you going to put your dominant female in Megan Bayne, who you put on television for about 6 weeks now? She's like a female Brock Lesnar in their eyes, and she's killing everybody. F5. She hasn't said a word yet. She looks like a Greek goddess legitimately, and you're going to beat her already. How do you see this match playing out? Because I don't really see Toni losing the championship so soon in this run.
Yeah, and there was a video package about a week or two ago where it was basically highlights of Megan Bayne, and she did speak. You heard her voice over in the video, and that's really all we've had so far. They haven't even had Penelope Ford out there with her cutting promos for her, so I'm not even sure why the two of them are together. But they have done a very good job of building her up as a credible threat to the title. They really have. They had her pin Toni Storm on the show last week. On Collision, she laid her out again with her finish, on top of the belt. So to that end, they've done a tremendous job. I think that this was a little too soon to put her in this position, but here she is. So what do? I don't see Toni losing. So I think Toni retains the title. I think there are ways to do the finish that protect Megan. So it's not just like a straight up win. Maybe it takes 3 or 4 Storm Zeros or something like that. I think back to like Undertaker and Kane when they first wrestled at WrestleMania. It took 3 tombstones, to beat Kane because he was this unbeatable monster. Some kind of finish they could manufacture to keep Bayne looking strong even if she loses, which I think she is. I really, like you said, if they want to really strap the rocket to her, sure, you can have her win. But she's been so dominant over Toni the last few weeks. And I did like how when they ended the show, Toni had a look on her face like, what do I have to do? Like, I threw everything at this woman and it didn't work. There's still one Dynamite left, so maybe she'll stand tall tomorrow night. Assuming not, I just don't see her looking the way she's looked and then going and losing again. So I'm going to pick Toni to win, but they have to do it, I think, in a way that protects Megan as much as possible because they've done such a good job up to this point. It would be a shame to just kind of beat her and she's kind of back in the pile with everybody else.
How do you feel about her getting a championship match so soon in her run? She's reached the top of the mountain only to lose, and then she goes right back to the bottom. I mean, isn't that counterproductive to how you build a star in Megan Bayne? Because you would think that that's what they're working for, to get a championship match. The fact that it's happening so soon as she loses, where does she go from there? It's like you just wasted all these months for what? To give her a championship match to lose? Where does she go?
Well, I mean, she settles back in the middle of the card, hopefully with a good story. And I mean, don't laugh, but I mean, that's what should be done, because I guess the way they look at it is this: like, there were so many reports about her status for like the last 2 years, whether she's under contract or not, and she isn't. So then finally she's on TV. The only match she's lost so far was a gauntlet match, which doesn't even really count as a loss. And so she's been undefeated and she's been dominant ever since. If she doesn't win, where does she go from here? Just come up with a good story for her. Keep getting her reps on TV like they've been doing with Powerhouse Hobbs since he lost to John Moxley, because they did that match and he didn't win. But at least with him, he's been consistently on television. So that to me is the number one thing. But you got to get her involved in stories that people want to invest in, and whether that involves Penelope Ford or they split away from each other. She's going to have to start speaking for herself and cutting promos on TV. Maybe she aligns with other people and she has a couple of people with her. So it's not just Penelope. She has her own little faction. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's any number of things they could do, but you got to keep her on TV and keep her involved, doing stuff. I think it's a case where Mercedes has the TBS title on lock right now, and they have their plans for her and Athena. And so as dominant as she's been, what else would you do with her? I guess maybe in their mind, if not, prepare her for a championship match. She's been unbeaten so far. The TBS title is off limits. That only leaves the world title. And maybe they feel like, well, this is what we have to do with her. Maybe she'll win. Maybe we're wrong, and she'll win the title. I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either.
I think they want Tony going into Texas with the title.
Yes. It's either going to be Tony Mariah, not Tony Mariah. It's going to be Tony Jamie or Tony Mercedes. I hope it's not Tony Mercedes yet. I could see them wanting to do that match at that show, but I think what you detailed is a lot more efficient.
Yeah, but you really think that they would do Okada Omega champion against champion, possibly title for title, and also do Mercedes and Tony champion against champion?
Yes, I do.
No, they're not. They're not doing that.
Do you know who we're dealing with here? Come on.
They're not doing that.
I hope not. I hope you're right.
I will put your mind at ease right now. I don't see them doing that.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I'm going Tony. Megan Bain, hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, because Megan Bain's great. Hopefully they got a plan for her in the aftermath after this show on Sunday. Speaking of the aftermath that the Death Riders have left on Dynamite. I can't wait for it to be over. I hope it is over on Sunday. I just don't have hope in anything. I don't have hope here in John Moxley relinquishing the championship.
You have no hope for Cope? Come on, dude.
No, I don't. I don't have no hope for Cope. I don't have no
Remember
hope
what they used to say on those old Saturday morning, like Saved by the Bell episodes? They would have those PSAs.
There's no hope in dope.
That's right.
Yep. This is dope. This is not dope, actually. Rated after.
You just complimented it. No. He doesn't even know the lingo. This fucking guy.
FTR, rated FTR, sit down interview. They talked about how they've all been an integral part of their careers, and Harwood with the it's not really a heel turn yet, but the teases of a heel turn. He shoved Cope down, and he shoved his partner down on Saturday. There was a little tension between him and Cash. There was a sit down interview, Tony Schiavone, where Dax Harwood is apologizing, says their goal has always been the tag team titles, but they disappeared on Collision to feud with fucking Undisputed Kingdom. And then after 4 months of helping Cope, who failed twice, Cope interrupted and said, listen, I never kept you from the tag team titles. That wasn't my intention. I tried to help you guys. Death Riders tried attacking us. They put bags over our heads. Harwood said that they were directionless for 4 months. Cash Wheeler said everyone knows him and Harwood are best friends. But many may not know that, Cope has helped them tremendously. He was living in his car. Cope gave him a place to live. No worries. Harwood apologized again, saying he took things too fast last week and said he helped Cope go for his goals. And their goals right now are the tag team titles. We want to call out the Hurt Syndicate, but they eventually, Jason, challenged for the Trios Championships. And it will be Cope and FTR, rated FTR, against the Death Riders. This is going to be Claudio, Wheeler, and who's the other guy? I don't even remember. Pac, that's right. How could I forget Pac? Jesus fucking Christ.
How could you forget Pac? Come on.
Trios Championships. That's going to be the match at Dynasty. What do you make of this FTR potential heel turn? Because after what Dax did to Cash, it looks like they are not on the same page. in my honest opinion, I feel like both are going heel and both will eventually turn on Cope, and it will be Cope and Christian versus FTR at All In. I think that's the direction. I just don't know how we get there, but that's what it's seemingly feeling like.
Well, what if you flip it and Cope is the one who goes heel? Because that to me would almost make it easier to fathom him, like a reconciliation with him and Christian and them being the heels against FTR as the baby faces.
I like that a lot because Jesse and I have talked about this several times. We cannot envision Christian Cage going babyface. He cannot change and deviate away from what he's done. So I actually like that. I would like to see Cope. I think Cope is a great heel. He's done it before. He's one of my favorite heels ever. I think him turning to the dark side would actually be a nice change in his character because right now he does feel boring.
He's just boring. He's just boring as a babyface. So. Yeah. I kind of like the idea more, and it makes it a little more palatable as far as how you get that reconciliation with him and Christian. So either way, I think that's the destination for Texas. I think that's going to be the big tag team match on that show, whether it's for the titles or not. What happens on this show, they're not going to win the trios belts. I think Death Riders retain. Let's say that FTR are the ones who go heel. I guess the only question is, does it happen during the match? Does it happen when the match is over? I think there's some miscommunication, and if it happens post-match. But I'm not convinced that they're the ones going heel. I think Cope going heel, that just speaks to me more than him staying a babyface.
Where's Christian? Why haven't we seen Christian? How do they get him away from the patriarchy? Do we have Nick Wayne turn on Christian? How do we align Cope and Christian again?
I don't know. Because when you consider what Christian has done to this guy, and just in the last few weeks, he's cost him, or he and the patriarchy have cost him the world championship twice. So there would have to be some real, fence mending that would have to happen first. I don't know how they do it, but they've obviously been teasing some discord between Christian and Nick Wayne. So maybe that's the beginning of a separation there. If Christian ends up all alone, if the patriarchy just completely turns their backs on him and he's all by himself, that may pave the way, for Copeland to, again, try to make amends with him in some way. But how they get there, I'm not sure. They'd have to figure that part out.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Cope going heel is a lot more, to me, interesting than FTR. So that serves to be a nice deviation away from what people are expecting. So hopefully that does happen. And the main event, Swerve Strickland, Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship, which we haven't seen since Wrestle Dream. They had a face-to-face on Wednesday, which was not bad. To me, it's too little too late to get me to even care. I just want this to be over as quickly as possible. But the words here, the promo was actually pretty decent. People have asked why Strickland hasn't lent a hand to fight the Death Riders and asked what happened to Moxley. He used to be revered, respected, says Swerve. He went hand-in-hand with the AEW World title. Now Moxley behind Claudio Pac, Yuta, and Marina Shafir, and has the nerve to say no one wants to be the world champion, but Moxley doesn't have the nerve to be the world champion, which is the reason why Moxley hides the world championship in a briefcase. He can't stand to look himself in the mirror holding the championship anymore. So they built this promo, which was very good, to the match on Sunday. And, a lot of this just falls on deaf ears to me, Jason. I don't know how you feel about it. What we've gotten so far is just so far gone lost that I just don't care about anything that's going on with the Death Riders. And all I'm looking forward to is All In. How do we make All In the best card that it could possibly be? It's not going to be with Jon Moxley entering as the world champion. Now, I know, you got the Darby Allin. It's going to be interesting to see if Darby's actually added to the Owen on Wednesday if they announce the full brackets. We don't even know what's going on with him, if he's climbing Everest, if he's not climbing it. Is he going to be integrated back into the show and the Owen? That's going to be an interesting aspect to see what they do on Wednesday. But Swerve winning the championship and defending against either Paige, MJF, or Ospreay is the way to go. So my mind says Swerve is the best choice, but my heart says Tony's not going to change a fucking thing here, and he's going Moxley winning the match and retaining the championship. That's I'm torn. I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, that's my fear. I'm picking Swerve, but I'm not on solid ground. Like I'm a little worried, a little more than worried that's not going to happen here, but it should. Absolutely should. It should have happened before this, but here we are. And, it was a year ago at this event that Swerve won the title for the first time. I think he should win it again here. I'm going to go with him. I'm not 100%, I'm not 100% convinced. I wish I could say I was, but I'm going the other way. I'm picking Swerve to win. I agree. If you do him and Hangman, because I feel like it's been long enough, and there have been little teases with them in recent weeks. Hangman almost looked like he was going to barge into his locker room and ask for forgiveness. Swerve got in his face the other day. I could absolutely see them in the main event in Texas, but I could also see Swerve and Ospreay. And remember what happened in their first match. Swerve won. So this time you do a rematch from Forbidden Door last year. Ospreay gets the win. I could see that too. You can't go wrong with either of those matches. No. I mean, Swerve, when he was the champion last year, he had some killer matches. The match with Ospreay came a lot earlier than people thought it was, going to happen. As Ospreay tells the story, he requested that match because people were crapping on Swerve's run, saying it doesn't feel like a world championship run. Remember Double or Nothing, him and Christian. That wasn't even the main event. So that was something Ospreay requested, and they went out there and they killed it. And then Swerve went to Wembley, and he had a fucking awesome match with Bryan Danielson. And all the stuff with him and Hangman was great. So if they do him and Ospreay again in the main event, it's gonna be a fantastic match. You can't go wrong with that. I'm going with Swerve for the win.
Yeah, he's one of the best big match wrestlers in the company. They got to go Swerve. So I'm going Swerve to win the championship. If not, I don't know, man. There's going to be more outrage. I don't even know how they end the show. How do they follow up? Swerve always says he's the most dangerous man in AEW. What lengths is he going to go to? What are they going to be allowed to do in the main event of Dynasty? We're going to see more blood, more carnage, more plunder. I don't know.
More nails? Nails in the back, perhaps?
More nails. I don't know. I don't want to see any more of that for the time being, but thank you guys very much for a great stream. We had upwards towards 2,900 people in here on a Tuesday night. We are 100 likes away from 1,000 likes. So if you guys are in the chat, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Just try and get to that goal. Jason and I appreciate you. We're going to get into your super chats in just a second. Also, as you guys know, follow us on social media. Follow us on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very podcast. And Jason and I will be live for Wednesday Night Dynamite. You want more AEW discussion? I'll be live with Jesse, and Jason will be live on his channel talking everything AEW ahead of Dynasty from Philadelphia on April 6th. I was going to talk about, being that I put it in the title, I'm going to just, not even mention it. Do you have any quick thoughts on the numbers that were released for Max? Just to give people a taste of what you're thinking. The numbers that were reported by BJ Bethel today. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, like, even on my shows, I don't talk about the ratings anymore when it comes to AEW.
Yeah.
Because ever since they started simulcasting on Max, it's just kind of pointless. There's obviously an audience over there. We don't know how big the audience is because they don't release that information. So, today there was a report that came out on SDScoops.com that, alleged that the show is averaging, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, but averaging 500,000 viewers separate and apart from what they do on TBS every week. So that would give them a total audience in like the million plus range. I don't believe the number's that high, because if you are to believe that, what would that be? 85 to 90% of what they do on a typical Wednesday night on TBS. They're kind of duplicating up to 90% of what they do there.
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculously high to me. Then you have people I see online throwing numbers around. Oh, it's more like 50,000 and stuff. I don't think it's that low. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. The idea that, Tony Khan, if the numbers were really that high, he would be, shouting it from the highest rooftop. What people don't understand is it's not his choice to make. Like, they're very protective of their numbers. They don't release streaming numbers for all of their shows. There may be select, like, top shows that you will get streaming data on, whether it's Netflix or whether it's Max or whatever service, that it might be. And for some sports like NFL, yeah, obviously you get figures that get leaked or they just get reported on. There is no singular metric, to my knowledge, for streaming in the way that we have Nielsen numbers for cable. The Nielsen numbers are public information. They put the numbers out, they're reported on, and people can, have access to that information. You don't really have anything like that on the streaming end. It's just it's this nebulous thing, and people don't know. They have ideas for what it is. So he's saying that, he has, I think he said he has like two sources, like two solid sources that he gets this information from. I'm not saying he's pulling the information out of nowhere. He's a legitimate reporter, and he's reported stuff in the past on the AEW television deal and the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant stuff. But whoever's giving him that information, I just don't believe the numbers are that high. And the fact is, we don't have, these numbers are not reported publicly. And so all we have to go on is this one report, and then, a bunch of people on social media who think they know when they really don't. So do I think 500,000 is the number? There's nothing to back that up. I mean, I know what was reported, but that just seems ridiculously high to me. But I would also caution people that Tony Khan not tweeting about it doesn't mean shit, because that's Warner Brothers Discovery information. They may not want Tony Khan to talk about it. They may not tell Tony Khan exactly what the numbers are. They may tell Tony, hey, it's doing pretty well. But that's our data. We don't want it leaked, and so we don't share it with people. I can believe that. I can believe that even Tony doesn't have all of the specific numbers. Maybe he has sort of a general picture of how it's doing. Obviously, they must be happy with how AEW is doing, because they gave them, the big extension, and they gave them a lot of money. So they're happy enough. I don't think the number is 500,000. That seems very, very high to me. But I just don't get into the discourse, because in the absence of data to report, this is all just speculation.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's really all it is. It's just speculation. And the AEW fans are going to run with it and say yay, like it's a big victory for them. The WWE fans are going to say, oh, no, it's fake news. It's all bullshit. This is what you get, right? This is what would happen every Thursday when the ratings would come out, right? We would go through this every single week. And I was just like, you know what? There's no point in even talking about it anymore, because it's not an apples and oranges thing. There's no one number that gets reported on. They have their 60 million minutes, and they have this that they look at, and that metric, and it's just, there's so many different things that how are you even supposed to know when they're not really reporting the numbers?
Well, if Warner wants to release them, they'll release them. Netflix had no problem releasing the NFL numbers over the Christmas season for those two big NFL games. They did 25 million viewers each. If they wanted to release them and they were doing well, they would release them.
Yeah, and again, they do that for like big sports games like that, or big events, because they're that huge. And I think they're doing more NFL games actually this later this season as well on was it Netflix, I believe.
Yeah. But my whole discourse was, I mean, I cannot envision the company doing that many viewers now more so than the viewers that they pulled in when Punk was there. It's not even logical. It doesn't even add up. You tell me this product now is doing more than when Punk and Cole and Bryan were there and they were at the height of their popularity. I don't even believe that just based on that metric. So that was my, like, how do you believe that more so than what they were doing then? I just don't believe it.
Well, because you saw that, like, before they were even on Max, I mean, the numbers, week to week on TBS were down. So you would look at that and go, okay, now maybe they're in more homes because Max is in however many homes there are. But that would mean that you had all 500,000 people on average each week who just decided to sit down and watch wrestling when, they could have potentially done that before. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the numbers being that big. I don't believe it. I don't think they are. But I also think, and maybe you've talked about this, and this is also something I think worth mentioning, which is, for all the talk about how everything is down in AEW right now, right? This is down, that's down, that's down. I think to generalize that, you have to be careful not to do that, because there are signs of life when it comes to their attendance. Like, we see them running these smaller venues week to week, and they may be in a building, they have 1,800 people. They may have 2,800 people, right? That they still have those issues with their weekly shows. Their pay-per-views have actually been doing very well. They have a show this weekend. They're going to have probably over 7,000 people in that building, which may be a sellout for the setup that they have, which is more than they had, by the way, for Dynasty a year ago, in a building that was more or less the same size. You had Revolution last month. This year's Revolution, I believe, is going to go down as the second highest attended Revolution they've ever done.
Yeah, behind the Sting one, yeah.
Only behind the Sting one, and then you had that one year, which was the COVID one, so you could throw that one away. But they had 11,000 people, in the building for Revolution this year. So I wish that their number for the Texas show in Arlington was stronger. I mean, we're still 3 months out, but they've got, what, 12,000 tickets sold, I think?
Less than 13, yeah. That'll be near 20 by the time we get there.
I think it'll be over 20 by the time they get there because they haven't announced a single match yet.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be able to, put more people in there for that. But like there are signs of life when it comes to stuff like that. So I just think it's important to point out that while things are down from where they may have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there are signs of life in some of these areas when it comes to attendance and buy rates and things of that nature. And they just have to just do a good job of just continuing to build off that and just give people the matches and the stories that they want to see. At the end of the day, I know it sounds so easy for us to sit here and say that, but just as fans, like, if you give people what they want to see, then the audience will come. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Give people what they want to see, give them a good product and good stories, and they will come and they will watch your product and they will give you a chance.
That's what they need to do.
That's it.
Very, very, very eloquently said. Super chats. Let's get into you, super chats, guys. We appreciate all the support. You guys are still pouring the support into the super chats. We appreciate everything. Michael Krause with a 2. Good Tuesday, JD Jason. How is everyone? Yes, says Michael Krause. We are very good on this Tuesday, Michael. Thank you. Black Wolf Inc. with a $5 super chat. Cena's promo yesterday showed why Vince didn't turn him heel. Cena would have buried every babyface on the mic alone, a la The Rock, Billy Gunn. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that, honestly.
No. I mean, that's the reason he didn't turn him is because he didn't want to give up all that sweet merch money.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they're not giving that money up now either, because that's the real reason why he's still coming out in the hat and the T-shirt and the jorts. So they can make a new T-shirt in every city that he's in.
David Thiering, thank you, brother, for the 100 earlier before we got started. Appreciate you as always. Love David Thiering. Black Wolf Inc. also with another $5 super chat. Last week's promo between Seth Roman and Punk also proves that Moxley is an afterthought now. The Death Riders failed to make him bigger than the Shield. He was never going to be bigger than the Shield, Black Wolf. Ever. Death Riders just needs to go away. I think Moxley needs to take a nice sabbatical or a hiatus after this is all over and just go away. Honestly. You were going to say something about Moxley?
No, I was just going to say, it just reminds me many, many years ago, I think it was Gerald Briscoe. It was on his social media, and he made a comment about there was one member of the Shield. I'm pretty sure it was Briscoe who said there was one member of the Shield that he never looked at as being a guy that would, when they kind of broke away from each other, would be like a main eventer. And I don't think he ever said who that person was. I always thought that he was referring to Ambrose, but he never said, so I have no idea. I suspect that's who he was referring to, though.
I would make a bet as to say that's the case, yes.
Yeah.
Black Wolf, thank you, brother. Walker Stubbs with the $9.99. Hey, Mr. JD and Mr. Solo, just wanted to hop in and say what's up. What is a duck's favorite snack?
Oh, man, it's going to be something involving quack.
Quackers.
I just don't know what is that what it is?
That's Quackers, yes.
Okay, see, I almost got it.
I guess you're going to the Sidro School of Comedy, Walker. Thank you. I guess you may be starting in the intermediate class. I don't know. Vaughn 502 with a $9.99. Buried my grandma today and lost my dad last May. I've watched you for nearly a decade, and it's always helped me through hard times. Wanted to say thanks for everything you do and wish you continued success. My thoughts and prayers with you, Vaughn. I don't really know how to react to comments like that, but I will say this. Those comments are the best. Out of every super chat that we get, the fact that you guys find what we do such an escape, I don't put a price on that, man. So I appreciate that. Jason appreciates that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very, very sorry to hear about your grandmother, and thank you for all the support. I appreciate it.
Ash Lambert with a $4.99 from the UK. Boys, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's Gunther and Cody going over Jay and Cena going over, or vice versa. I'm going Jay, and my heart wants John Cena, but I think Cody's going to win. Jay's definitely winning the championship, so.
Yeah. Jay is guaranteed. The bigger question is Cody and Cena. We still have a few weeks to go. As I sit here right now, Cena was the one laid out last night. So if it kind of stays that way, I'm thinking, okay, Cena gets it, but I'm not firm in that yet.
Yeah. Listen, John Cena bringing that sense of unpredictability back. We don't know exactly what's going on. So, one of my
Told People magazine.
Yep. Justin Toner with a $10 super chat. Hey guys, on NXT tonight, Ava had Stephanie Vaquer give up the North American title like Keith Lee. New women's North American champ will be crowned at Stand and Deliver in a 6-woman ladder match. Qualifier started tonight. Yes, we talked about that earlier, Justin. We love Stephanie. She didn't need the 2 championship deal. I don't know why they just didn't relinquish the title when she won it from Julia, but here we are. It's going to be her.
Well, I mean, are you really complaining about getting Stephanie Vaquer twice on the show last week?
I am not complaining about her at all. Not at all.
She's great.
She's fantastic. WrestleMess with a $4.99. I think Punk's favor is personal, and he wants Heyman to walk into the ring for his WrestleMania main event. Like Jason said, is that a big enough deal for the favor to be paid off? I don't know. I think fans are going to be disappointed with that, but I could see that being the case. So we'll see. If it involves a championship match, I don't know how that's going to go over. We'll figure it out. The Phantom Master with a $5 super chat from the United Kingdom. What did the drummer call his twin daughters? Anna 1 and Anna 2. I don't get it. Me neither. It's got to be a UK thing. I don't know.
Well, aren't you the musician here? So, like, I
kind
you would get it.
I don't know what that means. Anna 1 and Anna 2?
Anna 1. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Anna 1, Anna 2. Oh, my God. It took us 16 seconds to get the punchline to that joke.
Oh, my God. He's got another one. And my neighbor fell and said, call me an ambulance. And I said, you're an ambulance. Well, what does it mean? Please tell me. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Call an ambulance.
Call an ambulance.
See, call an ambulance.
Call me an ambulance. So I said, you're an ambulance.
Call me an ambulance. Okay, you're an ambulance.
Oh, okay. Like it took me fucking 30 seconds to figure that out.
Yeah, these jokes, they take a while to hit. they take too long to hit. Either that or we're just completely fucking stupid.
Sidra, you got some competition tonight, brother. WrestleMess with a $4.99. What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One is really heavy, and the other is a little lighter.
Very good.
Yeah, yes, thank you, WrestleMess. All right, you guys are doing okay tonight. You guys are doing all right tonight. Lewis with a 2. Punk gets a title match right after Cena versus Cody. You got to make sense of it, man. I don't know how they make sense of it, especially with the Rock dynamic and him being the final boss. Why would he grant that to Punk and Heyman? I don't get it.
I mean, you got Randy in St. Louis, though, as the next show, Backlash. I mean, how are you going to overlook that?
Yeah.
You could save Punk for the summer.
Yeah, that's the way I would do it. Ali with a $5 super chat. What did the nut say to the other nut in a game of tag? I'm a cashew. Oh my God, where are you guys getting this fucking material, man? Jesus Christ. Ali, thank you, man. I didn't take Ali to be such the comedian, but here he is. Cornell Bryant with a $4.99. JD, what's your thoughts on Swerve and Booker T's beef? I have no thoughts, honestly. I could not give a single shit. I found more humor in the AJ Francis and Swerve back and forth because all of them are to blame for them getting fired, not just one. Vince didn't like the group that they were in, and they were never a main roster group. So Vince said goodbye. That's why. Boss Mo Jackson with a $4.99. Cena's heel turn doesn't work for me. I don't know. He seems mad at the fans more than anything. Cody is an afterthought. Honestly, I'm tuning out on all feuds. You must have missed Monday, brother. They really course corrected, and it was a very, very entertaining 30 minutes between Cena and Cody. Ash Lambert from the UK with a $9.99. To really push WWE forward, you have Gunther retain and have Braun Breaker beat him next year at WrestleMania 42. Badass versus Badass, and have Jacob Fatu win the world title as well. No. No, Gunther is going on to wrestle Goldberg at some point this year without the world championship being involved.
So hold on a second now. If Goldberg is only having one match, you mentioned Braun Breaker before, so which is it? Is it Braun Breaker or is it Gunther?
It's going to be both.
It's going to be both.
We're getting double Goldberg this year.
So a triple threat or two separate matches?
Two separate matches.
Because I don't need more than one here. You're booking them in two separate matches. So one for each night of SummerSlam?
Someone in the chat look up when a Saudi show is taking place. I could have swore it was either June or somewhere in the summer. I don't know. Jason says one this year.
I thought it was one this year and 3 next year, including the Rumble.
Really? Oh my God!
I believe so.
I
Because
hope
they're doing the Rumble there, so it kind of threw things off. So let me see.
I hope that's not the case, because I would think if there's another Saudi show this year on top of the one Jason's talking about, I think we do one of those matches there and then one of the matches at SummerSlam. I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case. Ash, thank you, brother. Michelle Moran with a 2. Will we get Cody Punk or Cody heel Seth this year?
Okay, so I'm gonna butt in here.
Yeah.
This is from the end of February, and this is from the CFO of TKO. Said, our guidance for 2025 includes 1 PLE in Saudi Arabia compared to 2 PLEs last year. This results in an unfavorable impact to our 2025 plan of approximately 55 million in revenue, blah, blah, blah. We expect to host 3 PLEs in Saudi Arabia in 2026, including the Royal Rumble. So there you go.
Oh, God, that's awful.
There you go.
That is awful.
So as far as when the one this year is going to be, June, November, I'm not sure which. But that I would imagine that would be Crown Jewel, since they have those titles that they made.
Yeah, and that took place at the end of the year, right? What was that, October,
Yes,
November?
No, it was like November 2nd, I think, or it was the beginning of November, I thought.
Oh, my God.
November 5th?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I hope that's not the case, but here we are. If I had to choose one, I think Braun Breaker fits the bill for Goldberg. Cody Punk, I'd love to see, Michelle. I think that is definitely on the cards as long as both can remain healthy at some point. Boss Mo Jackson, the $4.99. Name your wrestling fantasy match. Anyone from any era or company, JD and Solo, what are your guys' favorite hobbies? So 2-part question. Fantasy wrestling match? Any era? I think this has been talked about in nauseum. Honestly, Bret versus who? Kurt Angle. You know, yeah, Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. Favorite hobbies? I don't know. I like to collect cards. Not so much lately because they've gotten just so expensive. I love to clean. I love making coffee. I love playing Destiny 2. I don't know. Now that I think about it, I don't really have. I guess you could call those hobbies, but they're not really like, the most exciting.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like what we do takes up a lot of time because there's so many freaking shows to watch and then to do. So that doesn't leave too much time for a lot of other stuff. But like watch baseball. You consider that a hobby?
Yeah.
Not that I play it at the moment, but I do a lot of like graphics work and stuff, a lot of my own graphic stuff. Just stuff like that. I was doing the PR thing there for a while, and we're gonna dial that back. I don't know if that's a hobby, but
yeah, it's more of who you are, not really a hobby.
Yeah, but again, there's only so many hours in the day. So between all that stuff, what else is there?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much this stuff takes up our time. This is a lot, and then when we are not working, we're trying to catch up on sleep because we work so late in the night. So it's like, our work schedule is not really favorable to our sleep schedule.
Yeah.
Boss Mo Jackson, thank you, brother. Jamie Acuna with a $4.99. Speaking of Acuna, let me see what the Braves are doing if they're fucking losing already. Let's see. Jamie says, just bought my tickets for Mania. The Dodgers are 6-0. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. And enjoying a whiskey sour, watching the best show in the IWC. Life is good. Hashtag TNT for life. The Braves are winning 1-0. Oh, my goodness.
Wow,
in the bottom of the
that.
6th inning, Chris Sale is winning. Pitcher shutout. Nice.
Shout out to Steve. Of course, Steve. I didn't neglect Steve. Steve's my graphics guy now and forever. But like, I'm doing a lot of graphic stuff myself, and because I'm not as good at it as he is, it takes me longer. It takes up a lot of my time.
I'm kind of envious that you do that. I mean, I do my own stuff too, but it's not. I mean, it's not as vibrant as yours. I do what I can to get by. That's something I've always wanted to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do stuff, years ago when I was doing this is going back a ways, but like E-Fed type stuff, and I would put together some very amateur looking, pay-per-view posters and graphics. I'm sure if I look back on it now, I would look at it and cringe, but like that's when I first started to take an interest in it, and like the early years of Photoshop. And so, Steve's a graphics artist. He's very talented and a big fan of my show, and was really responsible for a lot of, bringing my channel to life, and taught me a lot of things as well, because I wanted to learn, because I just find that stuff interesting. So hopefully the work I do now is almost as good as the work that he does. But I was just going to mention the Mets fucking lost.
And I just mentioned the Braves were up 1-0. They're losing 2-1 now.
See, you jinxed it.
Mookie Betts at a home run.
You jinxed it.
You fucking guys, man.
So now we are. Our record is 2-3.
At least you got a win. I can't get one win here.
We've had a couple of wins, but we gotta.
Listen, man, I don't give it. It's going to be the Dodgers, the Yankees in the fucking World Series again. What difference does it make? Might as well just take us to October, honestly.
It's April 1st.
That's what
you've already given up.
I've given up, man. I've given up.
That's usually my job as a Mets fan to give up. You usually, you wait a little while before you give up.
I know. But Black Wolf Inc. with a 5. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena 2014 was the match that changed my life. Since that match, I lost a lot of weight, gained muscle, and became more confident. Listen, man, we need a starting point at some point in life. If that changed your mindset on those things, that's good for you, man. Congratulations. I wish I had something that really pushed me back into working out extensively. I mean, I work out a little bit here and there, but not as much as I used to. Nate with a 5, coming to us from Australia. Have you had a chance to listen to Raquel on Chris Van Vliet? It's tough when it gets emotional talking about her health issues, and AEW Max, Warner Brothers is a mess. Well, Jason and I talked about that, but I didn't listen to the Van Vliet stuff with Raquel.
Yeah, well, the video's up. I did watch that part, and she got very emotional talking about it. Basically, it's a condition where it's like she's having these random allergic reactions, even though she's not really reacting to anything that she's allergic to. And they haven't been able to figure out exactly what it is. I mean, there's a name of a syndrome that causes those symptoms, but I don't know that she's officially been diagnosed. So, like, imagine that. Like, she's been dealing with this now for probably a couple of years now, and still doesn't, like, there's no solution, there's no fix. She doesn't really know exactly what it is. Even in the interview, like, you could see it around her eyes. She was kind of having a little bit of a breakout. But to listen to her talk about it was very, very interesting. Because she came, if you remember, she came back at Elimination Chamber last year.
Yeah.
They were in Australia. She was having a reaction. I don't know if it happened on the flight in or when she landed. So when she came out, she had no makeup on, and you could tell like her face was a little like puffy, like it was a little blown up. And they did it's not a watch, it's kind of like a watch along. One of those videos they do on their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they did one, and it was all the women in that match. So it was her and Liv. They were sitting together and watching it. And when she makes her entrance, like they're sitting there talking about it, and then she just starts like crying, and Liv is like,
is it something? Is it something that just happens like on a whim out of nowhere? Is it something she's going to live with for the rest of her life?
It could be. I mean, they just haven't gotten a handle on exactly what it is and how to treat it. I mean, she'll have steroid shots if it gets really bad. I don't know if there's any specific trigger. She did say like it could be caused by stress. She said, I just lost my luggage and had a long tour, so maybe that's why it's kind of coming out now during the interview, but it could just be totally random.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty powerful, man, that she even came out, with all the scrutiny that fans give these performers, like to go out there and still wrestle with that on that Elimination Chamber show. That's a lot, man.
I mean, the job that she has, she's on television in front of millions of people, every single week. And she said, like, even when she was younger, when she was like a little girl, she would sometimes have these reactions. She just thought it was the makeup, that she was wearing. But she was like, no, you could see even on my chest a little bit over here, and I don't put makeup on my chest, so there's just no rhyme or reason for it.
Someone in the chat, I don't know if this is verified or not. Val Kilmer passed away tonight. Wow.
Really?
I enjoyed Val Kilmer's Batman.
How old was he? 65 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he was very sick. I mean, What cancer did he have? Was it throat cancer?
I think it might have been. Yeah. He did not look anything like he used to do back in the day.
Yeah, it says here the cause was pneumonia. According to his daughter, he was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2014.
That's right. Yeah.
And later recovered. But he, you could tell.
Yeah.
Like, his voice was different. And was he in the new Top Gun movie? I didn't see that movie.
I didn't see it.
I think he was in that movie though.
Someone in the chat will know. Yeah, that's sad. I enjoyed his version of Batman. I thought he was a very good Batman.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
Nate, thank you, brother. Summer history with a 5. 2 things. Cody is GOAT. Best journey ever written, performed. Seth Rollins' heel is best. We need a new faction with him and Rock, Cena, McIntyre. You guys listen, I brought up the third man to this guy here. He doesn't think there's a third man. I hope there's a third man.
There's no third man. Well, I remember we were talking, it's amazing how things changed so quickly. Like a month or two ago about the possibility of like a trio with McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
You don't hear anybody talking about that now.
No. Boss Mo Jackson with the 499. Most of the feuds to me currently feel like people looking for reasons to be mad just to have a match. Best thing I enjoy about AEW is the Hurt Syndicate. Hurt Syndicate's up there. Ospreay, MJF, Swerve has he's righted what was going on there. He felt a little insignificant. He's back to where he should be. So
Tony Storm is
Tony Storm.
Fantastic.
Yep. There's a lot to like about AEW. I just wish they told better stories. That's all. Boss Mo Jackson also with a $5 super chat. I read earlier Vince bought TNA and said, nah, that don't sound right. And then I realized it's April 1st. People will say anything for likes and reactions. Yes, I hate April Fools on Twitter. It's awful. I tried to remain off of it as much as I could today. Base Beers, God of Seduction with the $2 super chat. Gunther can beat both Usos in a handicap match. I'm sure he could.
I'm sure he could. It's not a matter of whether he can. It's a matter of whether he will. And he'll be doing the honors for Jay at WrestleMania this year. Now, the question is, how long does Jay have the I wouldn't have the title on him for that long.
No, I'd say about 2 months max.
No, maybe. I think it might be a little bit longer than that. But for him, I think it's more the moment.
Yeah.
And then once you get that moment, maybe he has a couple of title defenses, and then he's
all right. Last week you told me it was too early to be thinking about who's going to take the title off of him. Who do you have anybody now this week that you may be thinking of, or no?
If we assume the rosters don't change, and
yes,
there's no draft and everything stays as is. Well, McIntyre's on a different show, so would Gunther just win it back from him, or would Rollins potentially end up going heel? I might be leaning more towards maybe Rollins as a heel.
I could see that
from him.
I could see that. But Punk should go after the WWE title, correct?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Time's up. 765 with the $2 super chat. They leave us I don't know if this is a dog or a fox super emote. I appreciate you. Time's up. Thank you. Base Beers for the 2. Gunther should beat up Rikishi. Stretcher job. I'm surprised Rikishi hasn't interjected himself into the story, being that he loves talking about his son every week. So,
well, he might now. One of his sons was slaughtered on TV last night.
That would be fantastic.
He might have something to say about that. Jay
with a 2. I read Raw had 150 million viewers on Netflix last night. Yeah, man, you're in the ballpark. Yeah.
Who's your source?
Stallions Productions with the $4.99. Who do you guys think is going to make the biggest turn at Mania? Seth with Heyman, or Orton turns on Cody and joins Cena?
I like the idea of Seth with Heyman. I think that works.
Yeah, Heyman, yeah.
Really well. I love that.
And who's that guy?
What was the other one?
Orton. You're an asshole. Orton turns on Cody and joins Cena.
What's wrong with you? You sure you didn't get into the real American beer tonight?
No, I didn't get into the real American beer.
Join Cena. Well, I don't think it's going to be Heyman and Seth.
No.
I mean, I said that would be like a shocking kind of swerve. I don't think it's actually going to happen, though. So, I mean, I would go with the other one.
Nah, Orton's going to be a babyface against, hopefully, a Cena heel champion at that Backlash. I got Cena and Punk in my mind at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam for the WWE title. Eric Aviles with 29 months. I just wanted to thank both of you for keeping me entertained during the toughest times. TNT, where the best speak the truth. I'm hyped for Dynasty. Eric, I appreciate you. Jason, appreciates you. And what we talked about got me a little bit more excited about where we're going into Dynasty and beyond. With the Owen, I love a good tournament. If Tony can make this one special, that's going to be a nice chunk of television. That means a lot to AEW. So I'm very excited about that. Baby Huey with a $4.99. And YouTube shit the bed on me. I don't know what it is with my computer. I got to get my computer checked out, man. Seriously.
Well, I have these weird things happen to me where I'll have like the YouTube window open, even like during my own streams, and it'll like the computer doesn't crash, the window crashes.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's like, oh snap.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what
yeah,
the fuck?
that's what just happened to me. It's happening to you too.
Oh yeah, no, it's not just you. It happens to me as well.
Oh, I'm thinking it's fucking my computer. I'm like, thank God it's not me.
No, I mean, just like I have the window open here even tonight, and it's happened twice.
Nice. Okay. Well, not nice to you, but it's fucking annoying. Happens at least 3 times per stream.
Yeah. So you got to just refresh the window, and then it's fine.
Yeah. Baby Hugh with the $4.99. If Io or Rhea win the match, but Bianca doesn't get pinned, does that count as a WrestleMania loss for Bianca? Yes, it does.
It would. It would. I forgot that she's unbeaten, right? At WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What's her record? 4-0, 3-0,
4-0 or 5-0, something like that.
Asuka has a record going. Unfortunately, it's
Reversed.
the opposite.
Yeah. Jamel Turney with a $4.99. Why doesn't the legend killer kill another legend at the end of the year? You very well could. Who knows? We're going to get Randy versus John Cena. I don't know who John Cena's last opponent's going to be. It's going to be very interesting to see play out. Jamel Turney, thank you, brother. Base Beers with the 2. Mick Foley was in a car accident today. Saw on IG. Was it today? He looked...
Yeah, he posted that photo. It's amazing when you look at the car.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, he said he had a minor concussion. He was sore from his neck down to his knees, but he's otherwise okay. I don't know how, but he's very lucky.
Braves are losing 4-1. Thank you, Jordan Ambrose III. I appreciate you for giving me the update on a 0-6 start for the year. Appreciate you. Yeah, Mick Foley, you know, you think watching Mick Foley, he seems indestructible, you know? I'm watching him as a child, but
he's standing there in that photo. He's got his fanny pack on. He's like, and you look at this car, it's just completely totaled. I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah. No, it wasn't an April Fool's. I don't believe it was.
No.
Why would he joke about that? No. Alex with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Alex. Brother JD and Solo, Seth being the third guy would actually be great. And assuming Seth helps Cena beat Cody, we can possibly get Cena versus Orton, Seth versus Cody, and Punk versus Roman for Backlash. I know it's wishful thinking. Man, that's a hell of a card right there. Sounds better than fucking WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
I don't know if you want to load up Backlash that much.
It's better than WrestleMania. Alex, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Listen, everybody's talking about a third man. I don't know. I just want The Rock to get back to television so we can do... Okay. Rock back to television. Let's get an answer first before we talk about a third guy.
You said everybody's talking about it. I'm not.
I know.
You are, but I'm not.
Base Beers with it too. McCool in the Hall of Fame before China. Yeah.
You know what? Look, she's going to be on the next season of LFG, right? There's a reason why she's involved in all this stuff, and that's just how it is.
Mark of Kane with a $10 super chat. Solomon, so you're as big of a Bret Hart fan as me. I'll be paying attention to Triple H and Bret's interactions at the Hall of Fame. I think Bret still doesn't like Triple H very much. Never seen them talk post Screwjob.
Oh no, they've talked a few times, but Bret's very honest, and you know when he's been asked about him in interviews, it's pretty clear he's not the biggest Triple H fan. But I'm sure everything will be, especially on Triple H's big nights.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's going to be any issues.
We got Nick MacGyver with a $10 super chat. My true introduction to wrestling was renting a VHS from Blockbuster of a 90-minute documentary about the Austin Bret rivalry. It showed the full WrestleMania match. I was hooked ever since I saw that.
There it is. Just happened to me again.
Unbelievable.
It says error code out of memory.
Yeah, what is that? Does anybody in the chat know what that is? Like,
I don't know, but there were like 4 people in the chat who said it happens to them too.
God, I'm so happy it's just not a me thing. I'm like, I gotta go get my computer checked out by my guys over here. Zeno, yeah. Oh, and that was Nick MacGyver. Yeah, I listen, man. Jason says the best match ever. So, I mean, if you show that to anybody who wasn't a fan of pro wrestling and they watched that match for the first time, you're instantly hooked. No doubt about it.
I said what I said.
Zeno with a 20. Cena has to win at WrestleMania. Imagine selling your soul as a last resort to win a championship and you still lose. Hell, he only won the Elimination Chamber because of Seth Rollins. Cena has to win. Imagine he loses. No title, no soul, no nothing. Worthless. Yeah, that's my kind of line of thinking. I think that there needs to be payoff to him selling the soul, so him winning the title is the payoff. That's just me. Too many tabs open, says B Sweet. You have a lot of tabs open?
I have 3.
I got 4. Usually, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that to be a lot.
No. Oh, Ango's in the chat. What's up, brother? He has the same issue, he says. I don't know.
Well, typical YouTube.
Got to complain on Twitter and then get a bot reply back on X. Zeno with a 10. What if Punk's favorite is for Paul Heyman not to be in his corner, but to be the special guest referee, forcing Paul to make a choice, screw my best friend or screw my tribal chief, and make the 3 count? Well, you guys are really getting fucking crazy now. Can you imagine Paul Heyman as a special guest referee?
I can't, actually. the constant getting up and dropping down, getting up and dropping down. I mean, you saw Bianca last night. I mean, she was getting run ragged, and she's got freaking 12-pack abs there.
Yeah, I know.
It's a tough job.
Arcade the Hedgehog with a 5. It's funny how Paige said just what Kenny said about AEW. Don't need me. Paige who? Adam Page? Brian? Who? What are you talking about? Adam Page said that? Or Ethan Page? Who said that? Which page?
You got to specify, brother.
There's a lot of pages, bro. There's a lot of pages. There's a lot of cages. We don't know. I'm thinking he said Ethan, maybe. Jamel Turney with a 4.99. Cena said Cody was protected. Did he not watch the Final Boss debut, though, that whole Mania season? Or through that whole Mania season? Cody was protected? Now, Cody, Cena said what he said as a deflection because he knew Cody was going to come back and say exactly what everybody thought. That's why. Cody was not protected during WrestleMania season last year. He was treated, I said perfectly, he was cucked out for sure.
The last 2 years.
Yeah.
Got screwed over at 39.
Hardcore Kevin with a $5 super chat. Hey, JD Solo, you guys should do Make-A-Wishes like surprise kids at hospitals. Also, what's your guys' favorite breakfast to have in the mornings? Listen, if the kids want us at the hospitals, I'll be happy to do it. I don't know who's listening to TNT. What's your favorite morning breakfast, bro?
I have a couple of them, actually. Honey Nut Cheerios.
Okay.
And Corn Pops.
Okay. My favorite breakfast in the morning is usually a nice scrambled egg meal of sorts, either scrambled eggs just up front.
Cereals. Did he say cereals?
No, favorite breakfast.
Oh, I thought he was saying cereals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean either eggs or the cereals I mentioned.
Scrambled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, usually 3 with a little bit of cheese. I like Fage yogurt, Greek yogurt. I think that's the best Greek yogurt with a little bit of granola. Bader Mo. Yeah, I know.
Fancy boy over here.
I know. I'm sorry. Me and my
got his cafe latte, and he's got his yogurt.
Yep, my Greek yogurt. Bader Mohammed. How dumb did they make Seth look? His mission was to prevent Punk from main eventing WrestleMania, and he succeeded in doing that at the Chamber, only for Punk to be granted a main event spot anyway. I don't think they made Seth look dumb. You think they made Seth look dumb?
Well, no. I mean, that's why he was so angry. The Elimination Chamber, he stomped this guy and tried to screw him out of a WrestleMania main event match, only for him to get a WrestleMania main event match. So that's why he's so angry.
Ricky in the chat says Magic Spoon is good. It is, but after 3 bowls, less than that, 2.5 bowls, you're basically done on an $11 box. Jason and I have been sponsored by Magic Spoon. I love Magic Spoon. I got a whole fucking 2 cases down in the basement. It's ridiculous, man. It's very expensive. $10, $12 for that box. Holy shit. Yeah. Angel, 35 months. No messages. Thank you, Angel. Also, Angel came in with a big $200 bomb earlier. Appreciate you, brother. Zero Kaiba with 35 months. Hey, JD Jason. This was the Karrion Cross question. Hopefully we answered that, Zero. Thank you for being here. Mark of Cain with a 5. I like Hogan still. But I pay just to hear hours of Salamonster tell these monotone recaps of Hogan's lies and listening to JD LOLing. Listen, man, it's fucking comedy, man. That's why we put it in the show. It's unbelievable. That Elvis one and what was the other one you told before the Metallica one?
SummerSlam.
Yeah, the summer. That's
at Wembley.
That's ridiculous. Oh my god, man.
Fucking guy.
It's so crazy. Chris Glover with a 10. Cheers on you two. Have a good night. Thank you, brother. Vincent Moore.
No, I should have told you the one about the movie studio head who told Hogan, "I want to make you my next John Wayne."
Oh yeah,
and Hogan said, and Hogan said, "No, brother, I don't think I could do it. I don't think the schedule's too much for me. I think I'll go back to being a wrestler, brother."
Maybe you should write a book on all of Hogan's lies and fucking fabrications.
I could probably get about 3 or 4 volumes out of it.
Vincent Moore with a 5. NXT Stand and Deliver is shaping up good. Oba versus Trick versus Javon Evans. Oh, I didn't know they had a Javon Evans there. Women's ladder match for the North American title. Ricky versus Ethan for the men's North American. There you go. And we're probably going to get Stephanie Vaquer versus Jordan Grace, which is going to be a fucking banger. Arabian Night, $6.99 Canadian. Cross's deal is up soon. Some hints. WWE informed him that they're not renewing, or that he changed all his. I seen that he changed his social to his real government name. I did see that. You think WWE told him early, like Corbin? We'll wait for a report to come out. I won't be surprised. That's a shame, though.
I mean, the way Corbin tells it, he was caught off guard by the whole thing. Did they tell him early?
I don't remember. I know they told Sonya Deville early. I don't know if it was Corbin.
Yeah, because Sonya, they told her, and she still had a few weeks left before, or maybe a month before her contract expired, because she was in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then I think her deal was technically up at the end of February, so there was like a gap there. But for Corbin, I thought he was kind of blindsided by it, and I don't know if there was still time left to go. Maybe there was.
Yeah, he mentioned somebody who didn't want him there, that politicked him to get out of there.
Yeah, I heard that.
I don't know who it was. A lot of people were insinuating that it was Bruce Pritchard, but we don't really know. I mean, people just making accusations. Jay with a 5. The best Hogan story is the one about Harley Race coming to the arena before a WWF show in St. Louis in the 80s and setting the ring on fire.
Yes.
Which one is that?
Well, that's for another day. That's where.
God!
There's just so much material there.
Hidden Network with 6 months. In Your House Mind Games 96. Michaels versus Mankind was a classic. One of my favorite matches ever, brother.
It's just a shame about the finish.
Yeah.
Finish was no good.
Dom Wapo with the 21 months. JD Solo, thoughts on Malachi, Aleister Black showing up on SmackDown. We are in the 4th month of the year. Didn't his promo have 4 in it?
It had a 4 in Roman numeral form, and it had a 25. So was that a reference to April of 2025, or was that a reference to April 25th, which is the SmackDown after WrestleMania?
It would probably be wise to debut him after WrestleMania, so I'm going.
I would agree.
Mark of Cain with a 5. After Mercedes takes Athena's belts, the next thing is for her to start taking some of the men's titles. All right, listen.
You know what? I think she could take Daniel Garcia.
She could.
I think she could win that TNT title.
I would not mind to see that, actually. That would be pretty cool. Walker Stubbs with a $9.99. You two are the best duo I have ever seen. Love hearing your guys' opinions every week. And by the way, I'm drinking classic ice cold H2O. Keep up the good work, Mr. JD and Mr. Salamonster. Well, Walker, I appreciate that. Jason appreciates that. And whatever you're drinking, man, as long as it's ice cold, that's all that matters.
Thank you. That's high praise. You need to go check out Abbott and Costello, though.
Yeah.
I
think he may be talking about the pro wrestling realm, though.
Well, you got to go listen to Gorilla and Bobby, but I will happily take number 2.
There you go. You know what I watched the other night? Speaking of Bobby, I watched him and Mean Gene call the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. What an awful fucking match, man. I was more enamored with the entrances. I'm like,
well, yeah, but it was the come down match.
Yeah.
So I mean, as like come down matches go, that's where Bobby made fun of the Iron Sheik. He said, "Oh, by the time he gets to the ring, it'll be WrestleMania 48." And here we are going into 41. How fucking old are we?
I know. Base Beers with a 5. Aside from Rhea, which women do you think could thrive in the mainstream media world? I think Mariah May could be a huge asset outside of wrestling as well.
Harley Cameron.
Yeah, for sure.
Mariah too. Mariah's great. Actually, you should check this out. They have Mariah has a YouTube channel.
I saw a little bit of that today. Yeah.
they have vlogs with the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should check that out.
Thank you, Base Beers. Jason Correa with a $4.99. Hey, JD, Jason, what's up? Should I invest buying the AEW Dynasty pay-per-view? I'm having my thoughts on it. Listen, no matter what I say about AEW, if I'm a little disenfranchised currently, Tony Khan and Mr. Pay-Per-View, and their pay-per-views almost always deliver. So yes, absolutely. The final boss with the $1.99. I think a Roman J segment would be awesome.
We
Who knows?
had that already.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, why would Roman interject with Jay? I don't know. He's got his own problems.
Been there, done that, man.
Yeah. Arabian Night with a $2.79. No Sheamus at consecutive WrestleManias. His last match was at the Royal Rumble. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Sheamus.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's going on there either. I mean, he had that great. So I forgot about that. He wasn't at last year's either. I mean, the last time he had that great match at 39, that triple threat match.
Yeah, a lot of people are making a stink about Alexa Bliss not being at WrestleMania so far this year. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what their creative process is and where they're going, but yeah, fans are vocal about Sheamus and Alexa right now. Sidro with a 10. If you're born in September, pretty safe to assume your parents started their new year with a bang. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And what you call a smiling Roman soldier with a piece of hair stuck between his front teeth. A glad he ate her.
So stupid. That is dumb.
Oh my God, Sidro.
That is dumb.
Sidro, what with a 5? What did Guy say when he caught masturbating to an optical illusion? It's not what it looks like. We're getting a little TV-14 here with these jokes. What's long, hard, and full of semen? A submarine. Man, you couldn't get any more basic than that fucking joke, man. Every time we heard that one. Sidro, thank you, brother. Not your best material. Alex with a 5. Assuming all matches are eligible to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, not just WrestleMania matches, what should be the second match that gets inducted next year? Take your pick, man. I mean,
it doesn't look like it's in any order, so I mean,
No.
it literally could be anything. I do think at some point they'll have to put 2 or 3 in at a time, though.
yeah.
There's just so many.
Bradley Xavier with a 5 coming to us from Australia. Tony had a bad week. First John Cena line, max ratings. Tony fumble chant tonight at NXT. Oh, really? A Tony fumble chant with Ricky Starks. Also, it's been 1 year since CM Punk's aerial interview. As long as he didn't tweet, stay off social media.
That's right. Was it April 10th?
Yeah.
When they aired the footage.
Yep.
On Dynamite, and they never hit that number since.
Mark of Kane with a 5. The call me and ambulance joke was so funny. I was on the floor laughing for the last 7 hours.
It took him like 30 seconds to get the joke. Talk about you.
Thank you, Mark of Kane.
I
Jeff
had to
with
explain it to him.
Yeah, sorry. I should have had more espresso before the stream. Jeff with a 1 month. Thank you, brother. No message. BW Roses with the 2. Punk's favor to be added to night 2 with Cody and Cena. We got to make sense of it, bro. We just can't be adding people for no reason. Sidro with a 10. Today at work in retail clothing store on walkie, one of employees asked, "Where are you, Emily?" She walkies back, "I'm on the floor." I laughed and said, "Do you guys want to send paramedics?" Or question mark.
I'm just flabbergasted by this. I don't know what the reaction is even supposed to be. I don't even
Where
know what
are
I just
you,
heard.
Emily? She walkies back. I'm on the floor. I laughed and said, "Do you guys want to send paramedics?" Or question mark. Sidra, I don't know. What are you, drunk tonight, bro?
I have no idea.
What's going on here, man? Alex with the 5. I have had that issue, too, with YouTube videos just randomly getting an error message. People say maybe clear your cache or memory is full. It's dumb. Yeah, but I do that all the time. It still happens. True Paul with a 5. What if WrestleMania 9 all over again? Cena wins, Punk has Heyman cash in favor. No.
It's not Money in the Bank, dude. Like,
No, come on now.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
No, we don't need a redo of WrestleMania 9.
No, we don't.
BW Roses, Solo, JD. Dark Side of the Ring, Season 6 on Boga tonight. JD, do you watch? I haven't watched what was it, Hell in a Cell? I didn't watch it yet. What they got? Ludwig Borga coming up.
Tonight was Ludwig Borga, and next week is Vader.
Oh boy. BC24 with a 199. How's Goldberg doing? Hopefully he's somewhere sleeping right now, but hopefully Goldberg, when he's back, is for a very short stint for sure. Goldberg. Yes, Goldberg will be back. I'm sure we'll be talking about Goldberg very soon. And Base Beer is finally with a 4 in Super Chat. He says, Jay is a step above No Way Jose. No Way Jose. And buy or sell Darby Allin or Gypsy Joe.
Gypsy Joe. I always laugh at the Gypsy Joe. Was it New Jack? I think that's what it was. Like, if you ever saw that video, you should look it up. Gypsy Joe just wouldn't sell for anything.
He's one of those. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sell on Gypsy Joe and buy on Darby Allin. And listen, man, let's stop the Jey Uso slander. He's gonna be fine. They worked everything back the way it needs to be. Jason, we're getting out of here, man. I'm gonna leave you as always to sound us off for what I thought was an excellent 89 here on TNT.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. Well, since they brought it up, Dark Side of the Ring, I do review every episode of Dark Side of the Ring. It's season 6. So I've been watching from the very beginning. I just started reviewing them again on my weekly show, and then the reviews end up going up on the YouTube channel as well. So if you are so inclined, the Mick Foley / Hell in a Cell episode review is up on my channel right now. Look, I enjoyed it. It doesn't cover a ton of new ground because I feel like it's a topic that's been beaten to death. But it does get into, the concern that he and his family have about the long-term effects on his health, which is a very real concern. And then you see things like tonight where he was in that accident, and hopefully he'll be fine. But can't be a good thing to be taking those kinds of bumps and that kind of abuse over a 25 year period.
Yeah, I gotta watch. I've loved that match dearly. I got a portrait of it from my ex-girlfriend many years ago. She got me the signed portrait of that match where they're both on top of the cell. Love that match, but yeah, I agree. I hope for the best for Mick Foley as he enters his next stage of life for sure. Thank you guys very much, man. We had a great show tonight. We had upwards towards 3,000 people in here on a Tuesday night. We appreciate you, and we will be back next week for episode 90. We're nearing not only 100 episodes, but we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of this guy over here.
What is this? This is a horrible sight that I'm seeing here. Why does Mario have a microphone stuck up his ass? What's going on here?
Listen, man, get your mind out of the gutter, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Guys, we'll see you on episode 90 next week for Tuesday Night Titans, man. We'll see you guys later. All right, man, we're off the air.